Good evening. It is Thursday, April 15th. This is the Vermont House of Representatives coming back after a brief recess. Will the House please come to order? Next up, we will be taking Senate Bill 53 up, which is an act relating to exempting feminine hygiene products from the Vermont sales and use tax. The bill was referred to the Committee on Ways and Means, which respectfully report that it has considered the same and recommends that the House propose to the Senate that the bill be amended as printed in today's calendar. The member from Brattleboro, Representative Kornheiser, will speak for the committee. Please listen to the second reading of the bill.
S53, an act relating to exempting feminine hygiene products from the Vermont sales and use tax.
Member from Brattleboro, Representative Kornheiser.
Madam Speaker, my floor report for this bill started with the line, "Good afternoon." And so I will start with good evening to you. S53, which you can find on page 990 of your calendar, recalibrates and modernizes many aspects of our tax law. This is a bill with many moving parts, and I'll close my remarks by reviewing the summative fiscal impacts with you that can be found in the Fiscal Note, which you can find on the Fiscal Information tab of S53's landing page. The bill impacts our sales tax, which impacts the Ed Fund. We make significant changes to our corporate tax structure, impacting the general fund, as well as some changes to fees and income tax exemptions. In the first two sections of the bill, we concur with the Senate and a new exemption to the sales tax for menstrual products. In the bill, we use the term feminine hygiene products, not because we think this is the most accurate term for what we describe, but because Vermont is a member of the Streamlined Sales and Use Tax Agreement, and we are aligning our exemption with their definition as per our agreement. This exemption includes tampons, pads, and menstrual cups. Period underwear, such as Thinks, is already exempt because it is included in the definition of clothing. We concurred with the Senate on this section and added no new language. Our amendments begin on sections 3 through 8, where we make a number of changes to update how corporate income tax liability is calculated. This brings us more in line with other states, prepares us for the future of our economy, and supports businesses to invest in people and property within our state. For the purposes of these sections of the bill, we are discussing US resident C corporations. They are taxed at the entity level by corporate taxes. We are not talking about pass-through entities, partnerships, LLCs, S-corps, or sole proprietors. For corporations that operate in more than one jurisdiction, such as across states or countries, their responsibility for state taxes is tied to their assessed presence in a state. Historically, we have measured that by the percent of their people, property, and sales in the state. With this legislative language before you, we will be assessing based on sales only. We call that a move to a single sales factor, and the statutory language can be found in section 5. While this tax liability will now be calculated with a single sales factor, we have directed the Department of Taxes to continue collecting information on payroll and property so we can better track the impact of these changes. As you likely know, most large multi-state corporations are composed of a parent corporation and a number of subsidiary corporations owned by the parent. Corporations can shift income between related companies in an effort to reduce their liability. A few of our changes account for this. Within the bill, all corporations and their income within a unitary filing group are considered part of the same filing. We refer to this as a move from Joyce to Finnegan, and you can find that in sections 6 and 7. We repeal something called the 80-20 rule, which applies to corporations with overseas property and payroll because it is superseded by this move to Finnegan. That's in section 3. We also repeal something called the throwout rule, which calculates what our state does when sales are not taxable in any jurisdictions, either state nor federal, and that's in section 5. We also make changes to minimum corporate income tax rates by lowering it for the bottom bracket. Those with receipts of $100,000 or less will pay $250, and adding a new top bracket for corporations with sales in excess of $300 million. That is in section 4. Then, moving on, in sections 9 through 12, we repeal an exemption from the sales tax for vendor-hosted pre-written software, or canned software accessed remotely. This includes both downloaded products that were once purchased in real life and newer products such as cloud infrastructure. We include the full spectrum from SaaS, software as a service, to PaaS, platform as a service, and one that probably doesn't form a very good abbreviation, infrastructure as a service. Under this sales tax language, I want to be clear here, this is not a special IT tax. It is a repeal of a sales tax exemption. These products are taxed in some form in 21 other states. In section 13, we then update the fees that managers of a mutual fund need to pay to the Department of Financial Regulation in order to sell their securities within the state of Vermont. These mutual funds pay similar fees to most other states across the country annually. We increased the annual renewal fee by $250. This was last updated in 2016. And finally, Madam Speaker, we create an exclusion of the first $10,000 of federally taxable US military retirement pay for Vermonters who derive part of their income from military retirement pay. There are about 3,900 Vermont retirees receiving some sort of military retirement payments. All of them will receive benefit from this exemption. The balanced fiscal impacts of the bill can be found in the table on page 2 of the fiscal note. Because corporations have varied fiscal years and filing schedules, it's easiest to see the full impact of the changes by looking across a few years. This is also a good moment for us to turn to the fiscal note and note the effective date of all of the different changes in this bill. So turning to the fiscal note for a moment, and I'm going to focus on fiscal year 23 as I go through, because I think that's the easiest spot to get a sense of the single year changes to this. Because in fiscal year 22, we're still doing a little bit of catching up. So the change from a single sales factor, from a multiple sales factor, a single sales factor for apportionment, reduces our revenue by approximately $19 million. But as part of all those other changes, we are also repealing the throwback rule, which reduces by 0.85. We're repealing the 80-20 language, which has an unknown positive impact, which is incredibly frustrating to me. I'm sorry if it's also frustrating to you. Joyce to Finnegan and the change to that methodology brings in a positive of approximately $6.5 million. And these new corporate minimum taxes that we've put in place increase our revenue by about $4.25 million. Moving on to all of those changes for those corporate apportionment pieces of the bill have an effective date of January 1st, 2022. Moving on to the mutual fund fees, this will bring in approximately $6 million a year. And our change to the military retirement pay and the exemption of the first $10,000 of benefits will reduce our revenues by approximately $0.66 million a year. Both of those changes actually take place. Well, one of those changes takes place on July 1st of this year, and the other one, the military retirement pay exemption, takes place retroactively, January 1st. Because in both of those cases, we felt that people did not need time to adjust to these changes. Moving on to the sales tax on cloud software, we are seeing overall on all of that full spectrum of cloud services and products, a increase in revenue of $10 million, really more $11 million if we're going to round here. And all of those changes take effect on June 1st of 2022. So that there's time to sort of prepare for the fiscal year. Moving on, the sales tax exemption for feminine hygiene products is July 1st of 2021, because again, that's something that did not seem to need a lot of time to prepare for, and will cost the state approximately $690,000 a year. And that, I think, is a good summation of the fiscal note. but noting that this means that we will see an overall increase in revenue of more than $6 million, but that will be divided between a decrease in the general fund of $262.66 million and an increase to the ed fund of $9.31 million. Turning to the witnesses, we heard from the director of the legal unit of the Department of Taxes, the commissioner of the Vermont Department of Taxes, the executive director of the Vermont Commission on Women, a number of staff from the Joint Fiscal Office, the government affairs manager from the Lake Champlain Regional Chamber of Commerce, the vice president of the Associated Industries of Vermont, a student from Essex High School from Students Demand Action, the Senate sponsor of the bill, the commissioner from the Department of Financial Regulation, legislative counsel from the Office of Legislative Counsel. It's funny that we always say that. The co-founder of Period Equity, a representative from the House Committee on General Housing and Military Affairs, a representative from the House Committee on Appropriations, an advisor from the Multi-State Tax Commission, an attorney from Rath Young and Pignatelli, the executive director of the Vermont Technology Alliance, a commissioner from the Tax Structure Commission, and a member of the Committee of Commerce joined our discussions. The committee vote on this bill was 8-3-0. And that, Madam Speaker, is the bill. Thank you.
Now the member from Dover, Representative Sibilia, and others move that the report on the Committee from Ways and Means be amended as printed in today's calendar. Member from Dover, Representative Sibilia.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In the past decade, various members of this body, including some members of the new National Guard Caucus, have proposed legislation to exempt all or a portion of military retiree, survivors, and disabled veterans' pensions from income taxes. This year, that caucus communicated to the Ways and Means Committee that action on military pensions was a very high priority for us. On behalf of that caucus, let me express appreciation that this modest, long-awaited exemption has been brought forward by the committee in this omnibus taxing bill. Madam Speaker, may I read a brief portion of the caucus's letter to the committee about military pensions?
You may.
Thank you. As one of only 7 states that currently does not provide any level of pension taxation relief, it is the consensus of our caucus that Vermont is losing opportunities to other states, including but not limited to workforce development. Most retirees have 15+ remaining working years and are highly skilled in a range of in-demand professions. Community building. Most retirees have partners and school-aged children and have a propensity for civic engagement. Economic impact. Total Department of Defense payments to retirees and survivors brings approximately $91 million annually into Vermont, providing a net benefit to the state's revenue streams. And also attracting diversity. The U.S. military is 43% Black, Indigenous, people of color, and the Vermont military is 6%. Making Vermont attractive to all new residents would ensure diverse and inclusive opportunities for new Vermonters. Madam Speaker, the amendment we propose offers a simple change to sections 14 and 15, raising the exemption amount on military retirement pension from the first 10,000 to the first 30,000. To help illustrate the difference, let me give you a real-world example. A Vermonter who has 22 years in the service and has risen to virtually the highest rank an enlisted person can rise to will receive a pension of approximately $24,000. If that Vermonter enlisted at age 18, they would be 40 years old when they retired and probably have another 20+ years of work ahead of them. The Ways and Means proposal will exempt $10,000 of that Vermonter's pension, providing an approximately $100 tax benefit annually for that individual and their family. The amendment we have put forward to exempt up to $30,000 would exempt for that individual all $24,000 of the pension, providing a tax benefit estimated to be about $395. We've heard concern about not wanting to unduly enrich officers. Some members may not be aware that to be an officer in the armed forces, you have to have a substantial amount of formal education. With our amendment to exempt up to $30,000, an officer is estimated to receive the full $30,000 exemption and perhaps up to a $1,000 annual tax benefit. In addition to the small increased tax benefit for the military retiree that our amendment provides, it also provides an incentive to stay or come to work in Vermont. Throughout our state, we often struggle to fill specialized positions like those in IT or healthcare. The General Assembly's Joint IT Oversight Committee took testimony from the administration last summer on the difficulty they have experienced attracting and retaining IT professionals for our state. A large part of that difficulty has to do with our inability to compete with the private sector and large metros' wages. Providing the opportunity to exempt the military pension is a decent added benefit, providing a total exemption for virtually all enlisted retirees and 1/3 of Vermont's retired officers. To consider relocating or staying in Vermont and joining the civilian workforce. In the past 5 years, Madam Speaker, 400 National Guardsmen have retired after at least 20 years of service. In that same 5 years, the number of military retirees in Vermont has remained virtually unchanged. Where did the 400 retirees go? Madam Speaker, again, we thank the committee for also including this small benefit for our military retirees in the expanded tax bill they are proposing. But we do hope the body will support the higher request we've proposed in this amendment. Thank you.
Member from Brattleboro, Representative Kornheiser.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We always appreciate an opportunity to hear from any of our caucuses and a representative from Dover in Ways and Means. And while the committee really appreciated the opportunity as we were recalibrating other aspects of tax law to bring us more in line with other states by offering this $10,000 exemption, there does not seem to be a correlation, according to our Joint Fiscal Office, between state tax rates on military pensions and the overall number of military retirees in the state. Even if low taxes were an incentive to move or stay in Vermont, in order for the state to receive a return on the size of the annual expense that is now before us in this amendment, a significant number of military retirees and their families, likely hundreds, would need to move to Vermont annually. Finally, this proposal in the amendment creates a level of policy incongruence with Vermont's personal income tax system, where we try to tie tax liability to one's ability to pay. An exemption for military retirement pay at this scale and limiting it to a specific group of people, regardless of their ability to pay, is not in line with the progressive tax structure that we've been trying to move towards and we continue to move towards as your Committee on Ways and Means. And so we found the amendment unfavorable on a vote of 8-3-0.
The question is, shall the report of the Committee on Ways and Means be amended as recommended by the member from Dover, Representative Sibilia, and others? Member from Barrytown, Representative McFawn.
I think I'm too early because I want to call for a roll call on this. Am I too early?
Member from Barrytown, you are not too early. Will the clerk please clear the hands? The member from Barrytown moves that when the vote is taken, it will be taken by roll. Is the member sustained? The member is sustained. When the vote is taken, it will be taken by roll.
Point of inquiry, Madam Speaker.
Member from
Berry City.
Berry City. What is your point of inquiry?
I just want to make sure that the roll call is it on this amendment or on the underlying bill?
It's on the amendment.
Okay, thank you, Madam Speaker.
The question is, shall the report of the Committee on Ways and Means be amended as recommended by the member from Dover and others, member from Northfield, Representative Donahue?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm one of the members of this body who has participated in introducing a bill along these lines for almost as long as I've been here, virtually every session. And sometimes we may not be able to find clear financial information one way or another. We can look at other states, but we don't know our impact. But sometimes anecdotal information is actually some of the best we can come with. From Northfield, of course, I'm the home of Norwich University, which is military academy. And the president of Norwich has come to me repeatedly over the years saying, I have such a struggle getting qualified top-level people who are retired and continuing their career and still in the prime of their career to come here to Northfield, to come to Vermont, because virtually every other place they go acknowledge their service and give them this relatively small tax credit. So I urge the body to consider this amendment seriously. It's not asking for the full exemption that might be very appropriate and that many states give, but it is a reasonable request. Thank you.
Member from Newport, Representative Page.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. May I make some comments regarding the amendment that the member from Dover spoke on?
Member, I'm sorry, I had a hard time hearing you. Can you please repeat that?
Yes, Madam Speaker. I was wondering whether I may make some comments regarding the amendment that the member from Dover spoke about.
Are you asking just to comment or to interrogate?
No, I'm
Comment?
not going to
Okay.
interrogate. I'm just going to add some additional comments.
You have the floor, member.
Thank you very much. I'm very surprised by the member from Dover, her comments, because they kind of coincide with what I actually had written. And my comments relate to myself. And as my wife often says to me, she says, it's not about you, Woody, all the time. So my comments are not all about me, but they also pertain to other military retirees. So the military retirement has changed since I retired in 2004, but there are still a number of benefits still available for those that choose to serve in the military. And it's important to know that these benefits also come with those members with them wherever they decide to retire. A military retiree is still relatively young when they retire. I served over 22 years. And when I retired, I was the ripe old age of 44 years. In some cases, the military member has children of high school age that might be preparing for college. Like me, my son went to Norwich and is now serving in a year remote assignment overseas. A military member might also have a spouse, and that spouse has generally followed the military member from assignment to assignment, and in each location may have worked in their particular field of interest or specialty. My wife was at one time a nurse specializing in infant surgery and always volunteered in the community wherever we were assigned. Your military family will in most cases have traveled extensively, and my family moved more times than I really care to remember. Your military family is oftentimes well educated and has special skills, which in a military member can sometimes transfer to the civilian world. In my case, my specialty was with missiles and inspections and monitoring, so there's not much need for that specialty in Vermont, fortunately. And finally, a retiree comes also with a pension, health insurance, and in most cases, a desire to continue to work and serve their community. We all recognize that our state has fewer residents, fewer workers, fewer children attending our schools, and is the second oldest state in the union. I would ask the body to consider this amendment since it may attract military retirees that are a more diverse population that's generally younger, healthier, educated, and in most cases has children, and more importantly, has fiscal reserves. This group may consider retiring to Vermont, but as our tax system currently exists today, the military retiree will simply go elsewhere, since their hard-earned benefits will go further in other, more welcoming states. I might add that many of my Norwich classmates that were commissioned into the military would love to be able to return to Vermont for their retirement years, but like my son, will not return back to Vermont due to the benefits being greater elsewhere. This is a wonderful first step that the Ways and Means Committee has put their efforts on in trying to attract military retirees to our state. And I want to thank the member from Dover for her comments, as well as the National Guard Caucus who offered this amendment. And I would ask that this body consider approving the amendment that the member from Dover has presented. Thank you very much.
Member from Rutland, Representative Fagan.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise in support of this amendment. Madam Speaker, I want to thank Ways and Means for their willingness to look at this section of our citizenry, our citizens who are willing to literally drop everything at a moment's notice and to go where we need them to go to protect us. Madam Speaker, take care of your soldiers. Take care of your soldiers. Take care of your soldiers. Every leader in the military hears that every day. Take care of your soldiers. Enlisted leaders, officer leaders, they all hear it from their seniors. Take care of your soldiers. Madam Speaker, back on 9/11, it was my honor to be in command of 2nd Battalion, 172nd Armor, headquartered in Rutland, National Guard unit of armor. And we were, when 9/11 occurred, 2 weeks later, we were out in the field, but 2 weeks later, we got word from the state of Vermont that we were to go to New York to replace the New York Guard at various sites around the city, protecting them, places like Grand Central Station, Penn Station. And if you ever, you'd ever like to be regaled about what that would have entailed, I'd be more than happy. I went around to talk to each of my units to explain what we would be doing, how long we would be doing it for, and why we needed to do this. And later on that evening or early the next morning, I had over 90% of my unit volunteer. It was not an activation where we were going to be activated. It was voluntary. I had over 90% of that battalion volunteer. We could only take 300 and some odd soldiers. So we had to tell some soldiers that they were not needed for this mission. Madam Speaker, our soldiers are more than willing to drop whatever they're doing in their life right now to protect us. They have demonstrated it time and again. They have never failed. Take care of your soldiers. Take care of your soldiers. Take care of your soldiers. Now's our chance. Madam Speaker, I ask that we support this amendment to take care of our soldiers who will always and have always demonstrated to their core that they're willing to take care of us. Thank you.
The question is, shall the report of the Committee on Ways and Means be amended as recommended by the member from Dover and others? Member from Berkshire, Representative Hango.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you to the Ways and Means Committee for giving us the opportunity to take up this important legislation. I stand in support of this amendment as a co-sponsor for the men and women who have volunteered to serve their country and the state of Vermont. Please join us in honoring those Vermonters who have served us so proudly. Thank you.
Member from Morristown, Representative Yakoboni.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, may I interrogate the member from Dover, please?
The member from Dover is interrogated.
Madam Speaker, can the member tell me what the total cost of this $30,000 tax exemption would be? Said another way, what are the lost revenues to the general fund?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As proposed in the Ways and Means Bill at 10,000, I believe it was $660,000 in cost to the general fund. As we have proposed, Joint Fiscal has estimated for me, it would be about 2 million.
So the general fund would lose $2 million in revenue if this were enacted. Is that correct, member?
That is
Madam
correct.
Speaker. Thank you. Madam Speaker, can the member tell me where she would propose reducing the budget by $2 million to pay for this cost?
Madam Speaker, we have in front of us an omnibus taxing bill that is raising, I believe, a net amount of revenue of $7 million a year. That would be inclusive of the cost of $660,000. So I think if we were to pass this, we would only raise an additional, I believe, 6 million, 5.5 million annually.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, member. Madam Speaker, may I make a few comments, and in so doing, refer to the fiscal note that it speaks to the whole bill, please?
You have the floor, member.
Thank you. The fiscal note shows that while there's a total increase in revenue, it's not all to the general fund. Most of it yields to the education fund. And that's not a criticism, but what the fiscal note shows is a reduction. And the member from Brattleboro in covering this suggested we look at FY23, which I will. It shows a loss of $4 million in FY23, a loss of $4 million in the general fund in FY24, a loss of $5 million in the general fund in FY25. So there isn't increased revenues here. In addition to this, one would have to add the difference between the 660,000 and the 2 million that was just mentioned. This comes at an opportunity cost. And in no way would I argue that our National Guards members don't need to be recognized. I would like to be at the front of the line with my friend from Rutland City. But when I hear take care of the veterans, take care of the soldiers, I say, take care of the children, take care of the soldiers, take care of the disabled, take care of the soldiers, take care of the aged. I, as a member of the Appropriations Committee, I'm speaking just for myself. Perhaps my lens, my view is too narrow, but I always try to protect the general fund because it is the backstop. It's the backstop when the education fund needs help. It's the backstop when there's a recession and our fees from our fee bills do not work. And it's the backstop for many who depend on the social safety net. Who will be there to help address the problem of addictions in Vermont? We heard last week, I think, that some 13 women who were released from prison in November died, some from substance abuse and overdoses. Who will be there to strengthen our recovery centers, who in the last 5 years have only received one-time funding, no ongoing money? Who will be there to take care of the hundreds and hundreds of people with our designated agencies who go without wage increases? There are domestic violence needs. There are hunger needs. There's homelessness. There's hopelessness. all of this comes at a cost. And I say this in no way to disparage the good work of the Ways and Means Committee or the good work of the member from Dover. I just say this comes at a cost to someone else, and we need to recognize that. Thank you.
The question is, shall the report of the Committee on Ways and Means be amended as recommended by the member from Dover and others? Member from Thetford, Representative Maslin. Oh, member, you're muted.
I hit the wrong button, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much. Madam Speaker, over the past several bienniums, Ways and Means has looked several times very closely at the issue of military retirement pensions. We've had several extensive memos, some of which I couldn't put my hands on today, but we do have one on our website, an issue brief from Legislative Counsel that, in addition to my remarks, I may wish to create, to quote in part. Would that be okay, Madam Speaker?
You may.
Okay, thank you, Madam Speaker. To start with, members and Madam Speaker, the bill before you exempts the first $10,000 of military retirement benefit for all retired veterans, regardless of whether they were at a low pay grade or at a high pay grade during their military service. And we think that that is very, very significant in most part because it would benefit all veteran retirees, particularly those who would need to benefit the most. That is significant, and this is the first time that Ways and Means has been able to do that, and we think that's very significant. We thank the members who have spoken, military retirees, and other sponsors of this benefit, and I would say that anecdotal comments that we have heard a number of times are very, very significant, and we do take those to heart. But $10,000 is not insignificant. The benefit exemption, as a matter of fact, is quite significant. And to return to the issue brief that I spoke of, Madam Speaker, it does say that the total tax benefit is like if this was the entire amount of retirement income were exempted, would tend to skew towards higher income officer households, which is really not consistent with our the way we generally try to work our progressive income taxes in Vermont. And to go further, it says it does not appear to be a correlation between state tax rates on military pensions and the overall number of military retirees in the state. Even if low taxes were an incentive to move or stay in Vermont, in order for the state to receive the return on the entire annual expense, the significant number of military retirees and their families, maybe likely more than several hundred, would have to move to Vermont annually. For perspective, over the last 15 years, on average, 36 new retirees were added annually to Vermont's list of retirees, which you can see, Madam Speaker and members listening, what the gap would be. And so I would just say, while we're very, very cognizant of military retirees' sacrifices during their careers, and while we welcome them here all the time, and I would add for the members to know, some of my very good friends here served in Vietnam, former members, and other people around the state. I'm very sympathetic and very appreciative of the service that they made overseas. Ways and Means conclusion that $10,000 exemption was a very good start in this point in time and well within our means here in terms of budgets and expenditures. I personally cannot support the amendment offered by the member from Dover, no matter how well heartfelt her comments have been received. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The question is, shall the report of the Committee on Ways and Means be amended as recommended by the member from Dover and others? Member from Burlington, Representative Hooper.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. A prior member noted honoring service as justification for us spending money on a tax break for career military people, and unfortunately, a corporate tax break. As a veteran, I don't disagree with any of these things. However, in a session where we just told our own career state employees and teachers that we can't afford to honor our promise to them, those who stood beside us during this plague, I'm simply at a loss for words that this is even coming forward. Current Vermonters who are here building and supporting our economy are being told there is no money, while we give a cloud tax benefit to global foundries. I'm at a loss. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Member from Orange, Representative LaFave.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just wanted to speak in support of this amendment. To me, all of the before mentioned comments aren't going to matter if we lose our freedoms and if we don't support our soldiers. Without them, we don't have everything that, you know, we have learned to love and appreciate. I do believe that they do pay the ultimate price. And to me, we have found many other ways to come up with revenue before, and this is not asking too much to support them for all that they do. Thank you.
The question is, shall the report of the Committee on Ways and Means be amended as recommended by the member from Dover and others? Member from Brattleboro, Representative Kornheiser.
I'd like to, at the risk of repeating myself, refresh the memory of a few things that I said earlier on. Your Committee on Ways and Means is willingly putting forward this $10,000 exemption, both as a way of bringing us in line with other states, which is an important aspect of our tax policy, and as a way of honoring the service of members. But there is no evidence across multiple studies that this is an effective recruitment tool. And at $10,000, we can bring in the retirement income of a much wider swath of, really quite a large swath of folks, their entire retirement income. And as we go above that, we bring in higher paid officers' retirement income who who have a greater ability to pay. And so the Committee on Ways and Means, again, voted this amendment down unfavorably by 8-3-0. Thank you.
Member from Dover, Representative Sibilia.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd just like to reflect on a few things that I've heard and offer a few closing comments for myself. I am quite aware that the policy choices that we make, the choices on what we invest in always come at a cost to not doing something else. And so with every bill where we make spending decisions, we are making a choice to not do something else. I'm concerned I think I will leave it at that. This is a modest request, Madam Speaker. We have heard that this will come to the expense of the general fund. The fiscal note clearly shows we are increasing funds to the education fund. I would love to believe that those funds will stay in the education fund for the purpose of educating solely educating our K through 12 children. But history has taught me that that is not the case, that money is fungible, and that when we want to do something, we find a way to do something. We've made several policy choices of benefits that we would like to provide in this bill. And that is what we do every day. It does I'm unsure. I thought, Madam Speaker, that I had heard some offense taken to this proposal being made, which would be extremely perplexing to me. And I hope that that's not what I heard, because again, we're debating, as we do every day, what our priorities are. So thank you. That's the end of my comments. I appreciate the time. And again, thank the Ways and Means Committee for bringing this forward.
Member from Milton, Representative Morgan.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd just like to make a statement. We've heard varying things here, but as a military retirement, I'm a bit taken back that we have to add in a retirement pay tax exemption to a totally unrelated bill. I think this deserves its own bill. But that said, this is an issue that I speak for all of my sisters and brothers that have served and are entitled to these payments of retirement benefits as serving retired military members. However, this does give us an opportunity to help those that have been pleading with me find a way to make this as an exemption, and I support this amendment. We ask our military to be willing to step into harm's way. As a commander, I had to do that numerous times. This is a very tall order. If you haven't done that, it's a tall order. I'd like to think that our retirees are not asking for anything unreasonable. They are asked to do things that most other Americans are not asked or expected to do. This is the least we can do for them. And I might add that it also, if you talk to the commanders still serving in the National Guard, which I retired from in 2017, they will tell you that this is a great retention and recruitment tool for the National Guard here in Vermont to keep soldiers and airmen that are here serving in our ranks and not run away to other states that they know give better benefits, whether it may be education or retirement benefits in the long haul. So we have to look at that component as well. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Member from Fairfax, Representative Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to thank the Ways and Means Committee for putting in this section that has allowed the amendment to be written from. I'm trying to be a little careful. I know we're voting on the amendment, but I really do appreciate that. I will be voting for the amendment. I hope that we can see our way to the 30,000, but I want to give kudos and credit for the 10,000 that is the base we're operating from. It's something that hasn't been in our statute before, in our tax law. And in looking at some materials today, it was brought to my attention that there are 2 states in the United States that have no any kind of compensation for pensions or retirement benefits for the military. And those 2 states are California and Vermont. And I just hope that we can leave that group and become a state with the other 48 that do offer some means of compensation, as little as it may feel. At least it's a token. And I appreciate the opportunity to vote, both to raise it, but also to put it in place at all. Thank you.
Member from Clarendon, Representative Peterson.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. I just want to say very briefly that I think the value added to helping our military retirees far outweigh the costs, and I would support the bill. Thank you.
The question is, shall the report of the Committee on Ways and Means be amended as recommended by the member from Dover and others? Member from Granby, Representative Williams.
Yes, thank you. I just want to say that when we are concerned about our children, which we are most definitely concerned about our children, those children, many of them come from families of service members, and they are sacrificing with all of the traveling and the missed opportunity to have their families with them. And this is an added benefit to those children of the military people that are sacrificing for us. Thank you.
Member from South Burlington, Representative Kalaki.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. May I inquire of the presenter of the amendment?
The member from Dover is interrogated.
Representative, the 30,000, how does that compare to other states in our region? I don't know that.
That's an excellent question, member, and I could defer to one of my colleagues, I think, who could spit that information out, or I could take a 60-second recess and have that information for you.
I wonder if Representative Kornheiser might also have it and how they came up to the 10,000. Is there some comparison? I don't know, Madam Speaker. I'd like to know about the 30,000, I guess, would be.
Madam Speaker, may I have a 1-minute recess?
You may, the House will stand in recess for 1 minute.
I'm ready.
Will the House please come to order? Member from Dover.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So we are the only state, all of the states around us fully exempt their military retirement, I believe, with the end. Vermont and Rhode Island are the 2 states in New England that fully tax military retirement pay. There are only 9 states in the country that fully tax military retirement pay. So we have offered no relief from that in the past.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, member.
The question is, shall the report of the Committee on Ways and Means be amended as recommended by the member from Dover and others? Member from Brattleboro, Representative Kornheiser.
One of the interesting things about being on the Committee on Ways and Means is seeing our comparisons to other states, which happens very regularly. It's a part of our conversations as a body and as a committee, and it's often very difficult as tax structures are very different from state to state. And so there are many states, 9 that don't tax personal income. And so military retirement income would not be part of that. So they're sort of out by default. Of the 3 states that do fully tax military retirement pay, the 2 others are California and Virginia. And while I've never served in the military, I've spent a lot of time overseas in war zones. And I know that California and Virginia are 2 states with a significant number of military retirees. And so I think it's, as I've said, this is an important way of bringing our tax policy in line with other states and an important way of honoring veterans. But at $10,000, we are able to bring in the full retirement benefits of about 1/3 of our retirees. And that is a real significant step while still keeping us within a progressive income tax structure.
Member from St. Johnsbury, Representative Beck.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. JFO has looked at this issue of comparison of states. And what they determined was that New York, which has 100% income tax exemption on all retired military pay, their military retirees in that state are 1/3 the percentage of Vermont's percentage of military retirees. In other words, we have 3 times the percentage of military retirees is New York, and New York has a full exemption. New Hampshire has no income tax at all. So any military retiree going there doesn't pay any income tax on their military retirement pay. New Hampshire has about the same percentage of military retirees as the Vermont population. The rest of New England, I'm not sure exactly what they're doing down in Connecticut, Mass, and Rhode Island, but they have a lesser percentage of militaries and retirees in their population than Vermont does. Maine, they do have a slightly higher percentage of military retirees in their population than Vermont does. I don't know what their exemptions are for income, but it's notable that they do have major military bases on their coast. And that is one of the factors that determines where military people retire. They tend to retire and become part of the military defense industry. So it's not surprising that a state like Maine would have a slightly higher percentage of military retirees than Vermont.
The question is, shall the report of the Committee on Ways and Means be amended as recommended by the member from Dover and others? Are you ready for the question? Member from Burlington, Representative Hooper.
I apologize, Madam Speaker. Thank you. A word was just thrown out here, and I certainly agree with the last speaker. We hashed this issue out in the Governor's Veterans Advisory Commission a decade ago, and came to realize that because of the lack of military infrastructure in the state, we just simply aren't as attractive as we could be with no defense industry. But the point that I want to make is that a member used supporting veterans in this context, and you are not supporting veterans. You're supporting retirees. Retirees are veterans. All veterans are not retirees, and this state does a pretty bad job. I mean, you get to participate in a moose bingo round, but otherwise, you don't get much from Vermont if you're a veteran, period. So I bill that bit of caustic, maybe, as a piece of information. Thank you. And I mean no offense.
The question is, shall the report of the Committee on Ways and Means be amended as recommended by the member from Dover and others? Are you ready for the question? If so, the clerk shall commence to call the roll.
Aki of Middletown Springs.
Yes.
Representative Aki votes yes. Ansel of Callis.
No.
Representative Ansel votes no. Anthony of Berry City.
No.
Representative Anthony votes no. Arison of Weathersfield.
No.
Representative Arison votes no. Austin of Colchester.
Yes.
Representative Austin votes yes. Bartholomew of Heartland.
No.
Representative Bartholomew votes no. Bachelor of Derby.
Yes.
Representative Bachelor votes yes. Beck of St. Johnsbury.
No.
Representative Beck votes no. Byrong River Gens.
Yes.
Representative Byrong votes yes. Black of Essex.
No.
Representative Black votes no. Bloomley of Burlington.
No.
Representative Bloomley votes no. Bach of Chester. Bongarts of Manchester.
No.
Representative Bongarts votes no. Bosland of Westminster.
No.
Representative Bosland votes no. Brady of Williston.
No.
Representative Brady votes no. Brennan of Colchester.
Yes.
Representative Brennan votes yes. Briglin of Thetford.
No.
Representative Briglin votes no. Brown of Richmond.
No.
Representative Brown votes no. Brownell of Pownell.
No.
Representative Brownell votes no. Brumstead of Shelburne.
Yes.
Representative Brumstead votes yes. Burdett of West Rutland.
Yes.
Representative Burdett votes yes. Burke of Brattleboro.
No.
Representative Burke votes no. Burrows of West Windsor.
No.
Representative Burrows votes no. Campbell of St. Johnsbury.
No.
Representative Campbell votes no. Canfield of Fairhaven.
Yes.
Representative Canfield votes yes. Chase of Colchester. Christie of Hartford.
Yes.
Representative Christie votes yes. Sheena of Burlington.
Yes, with explanation.
Representative Sheena votes yes. Coffee of Guilford.
No.
Representative Coffee votes no. Colburn of Burlington.
No.
Representative Colburn votes no. Colston and Winooski.
No.
Representative Colston votes no. Conlon of Cornwall.
No.
Representative Conlon votes no. Copeland Hansis of Bradford.
No.
Representative Copeland Hansis votes no. Corcoran of Bennington.
Yes.
Representative Corcoran votes yes. Cordes of Lincoln.
No.
Representative Cordes votes no. Copley of Rutland City. Dickinson of St. Albans Town.
Yes.
Representative Dickinson votes yes. Dolan of Essex.
No.
Representative Dolan of Essex votes no. Dolan of Waitsfield.
No.
Representative Dolan of Waitsfield votes no. Donahue of Northfield.
Yes.
Representative Donahue votes yes. Donnelly of Hyde Park.
No.
Representative Donnelly votes no. Durfee of Shaftesbury.
No.
Representative Durfee votes no. Elder of Starksboro.
This is Jeff Elder. I vote no.
Representative Elder votes no. Emmons of Springfield.
No.
Representative Emmons votes no. Fagan of Rutland City.
Yes.
Representative Fagan votes yes. Feltus of Linden.
No.
Representative Feltus votes no. Gannon of Wilmington.
No.
Representative Gannon votes no. Goldman of Rockingham.
No.
Representative Goldman votes no. Ghostland of Northfield.
Yes.
Representative Ghostland votes yes. Grad of Moortown.
Yeah, and then this main motion.
I'm going to give us an all mute here for a moment. Graham of Williamstown.
Yes.
Representative Graham votes yes. Gregoire of Fairfield.
Yes.
Representative Gregoire votes yes. Hango of Berkshire.
Yes.
Representative Hango votes yes. Harrison of Chittenden.
Yes.
Representative Harrison votes yes. Helm of Fairhaven.
Rule 75.
Higley of Lowell.
Yes.
Representative Higley votes yes. Hooper of Montpelier.
No.
Representative Hooper of Montpelier votes no. Hooper of Randolph.
Yes.
Representative Hooper of Randolph votes yes. Hooper of Burlington.
No.
Representative Hooper of Burlington votes no. Houghton of Essex.
No.
Representative Houghton votes no. Howard of Rutland City. James of Manchester.
No.
Representative James votes no. Jerome of Brandon.
No.
Representative Jerome votes no. Jessup of Middlesex.
No.
Representative Jessup votes no. Kalaki of South Burlington.
No.
Representative Kalaki votes no. Kimball of Woodstock.
No.
Representative Kimball votes no. Kitzmiller of Montpelier. Kornheiser of Brattleboro.
No.
Representative Kornheiser votes no. Leclerc of Berrytown.
Yes.
Representative Leclerc votes yes. Lalonde of South Burlington.
No.
Representative Lalonde votes no. Lanford of Virgins.
Rule 75.
Lefebvre of Newark.
No.
Representative Lefebvre of Newark votes no. Lefebvre of Orange.
Yes.
Representative Lefebvre of Orange votes yes. Leffler of Enosburg.
Yes.
Representative Leffler votes yes. Lippert of Heinsberg.
No.
Representative Lippert votes no. Lalong of Newfane.
No.
Representative Long votes no. Marcotte of Coventry.
Yes.
Representative Marcotte votes yes. Martell of Waterford.
Yes.
Representative Martell votes yes. Martin of Franklin. Maslin of Thetford.
No.
Representative Maslin votes no. Matos of Milton.
Yes.
Representative Matos votes yes. McCarthy of St. Albans City.
No.
Representative McCarthy votes no. McCormick of Burlington.
I certify that this is Representative McCormick of Burlington, and I vote no.
Representative McCormick votes no. McCoy of Pulteney.
Rule 75.
McCullough of Williston.
Nay.
Representative McCullough votes no. McFawn of Berrytown.
Yes.
Representative McFawn votes yes. Morgan L. of Milton.
Yes.
Representative Morgan L. votes yes. Morgan M. of Milton.
Yes.
Representative Morgan M. votes yes. Morris of Springfield.
No.
Representative Morris votes no. Morrissey of Bennington.
I certify that I'm Representative Morrissey of Bennington and vote yes.
Representative Morrissey votes yes. Mrowicki of Putney.
No.
Representative Mrowicki votes no. Mulvaney Stanek of Burlington.
No.
Representative Mulvaney Stanek votes no. Murphy of Fairfax.
Yes.
Representative Murphy votes yes. Nicole of Ludlow.
No.
Representative Nicole votes no. Nigro of Bennington. Norris of Sheldon. Norris of Shoreham. Not of Rutland City.
No.
Representative Not votes no. Noyes of Wolcott.
Yes.
Representative Noyes votes yes. O'Brien of Tunbridge.
No.
Representative O'Brien votes no. Odie of Burlington.
No.
Representative Odie votes no. Page of Newport City.
Yes.
Representative Page votes yes. Pyala of Londonderry.
Yes.
Representative Pyala votes yes. Pulaski of Milton.
Yes.
Representative Pulaski votes yes. Parsons of Newberry.
Yes.
Representative Parsons votes yes. Partridge of Wyndham.
No.
Representative Partridge votes no. Pat of Worcester.
No.
Representative Pat votes no. Pearl of Danville. Peterson of Clarendon.
Yes.
Representative Peterson votes yes. Pugh of South Burlington.
No.
Representative Pugh votes no. Rachelson of Burlington.
No.
Representative Rachelson votes no. Redmond of Essex.
No.
Representative Redmond votes no. Rogers of Waterville.
No.
Representative Rogers votes no. Rosenquist of Georgia.
Rule 75.
Satkowitz of Randolph.
No.
Representative Satkowitz votes no. Savage of Swanton. Shy of Middlebury.
No.
Representative Shy votes no. Sherman of Stowe.
I certify that this is Representative Sherman from Stowe, and I vote yes.
Representative Sherman votes yes. Seymour of Sutton. Shaw of Pittsford.
Yes.
Representative Shaw votes yes. Sheldon of Middlebury.
Yes.
Representative Sheldon votes yes. Sibilia of Dover.
Yes.
Representative Sibilia votes yes. Sims of Craftsbury.
Yes.
Representative Sims votes yes. Small of Winooski.
Yes.
Representative Small votes yes. Smith of Derby.
Yes.
Representative Smith of Derby votes yes. Smith of New Haven.
Yes.
Representative Smith of New Haven votes yes. Squirrel of Underhill.
No.
Representative Squirrel votes no. Stebbins of Burlington.
Yes.
Stebbins of Burlington.
Yes.
Representative Stebbins votes yes. Stevens of Waterbury. Strong of Albany.
Yes, and I'd like to explain my vote.
Representative Strong votes yes. Sullivan of Dorset.
No.
Representative Sullivan votes no. Supernaut of Barnard.
This is Heather Supernaut, and I vote yes.
Representative Supernaut votes yes. Taylor of Colchester.
Yes.
Representative Taylor votes yes. Teranzini of Rutland Town.
I certify that I'm Representative Teranzini of Rutland Town and vote yes.
Representative Teranzini votes yes. Till of Jericho. Tolino of Brattleboro.
I certify that I am Representative Tristan Tolino of Brattleboro, and I vote no.
Representative Tolino votes no. Toof of St. Albans Town.
Yes.
Representative Toof votes yes. Townsend of Burlington.
No.
Representative Townsend votes no. Troiano of Stannard.
I vote yes.
Representative Troiano votes yes. Vyhovsky of Essex.
I vote yes.
Representative Vyhovsky votes yes. Waltz of Berry City.
No.
Representative Waltz votes no. Webb of Shelburne.
No.
Representative Webb votes no. White of Bethel.
No.
Representative White of Bethel votes no. White of Hartford.
No.
Representative White of Hartford votes no. Whitman of Bennington.
No.
Representative Whitman votes no. Williams of Granby.
Yes.
Representative Williams votes yes. Wood of Waterbury.
No.
Representative Wood votes no. Yakavoni of Morristown.
No.
Representative Yakavoni votes no. Yantochka of Charlotte.
No.
Representative Yantochka votes no. Bach of Chester. Chase of Colchester. Coopoli of Rutland City. Grad of Moortown. Howard of Rutland City. Kitzmiller of Montpelier. Martin of Franklin. Nigro of Bennington.
No.
Representative Nigro votes no. Norris of Sheldon.
Yes.
Representative Norris of Sheldon votes yes. Norris of Shoreham. Hurl of Danville. Savage of Swanton. Seymour of Sutton. Stevens of Waterbury. Till of Jericho.
No.
Representative Till votes no.
For purposes of explanation, member from Burlington, Representative Chena.
Madam Speaker, I vote yes. Veterans put their lives on the line to support the economic interests of this country. We should be giving more tax breaks to veterans and less tax breaks to corporations. Thank you.
Member from Albany, Representative Strong.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As a Gold Star mother, I believe this is a small sacrifice that we can make in our state budget to show appreciation for those who have sacrificed so much for us and our freedom. Thank you.
Member from Middlebury, Representative Sheldon.
Madam Speaker, may I change my vote?
You may.
Sheldon of Middlebury.
No.
Representative Sheldon votes no.
Member from Waterbury, Representative Stevens.
Madam Speaker, I'm sorry I was muted. May I vote?
You may.
Stevens of Waterbury.
No, and may I explain my vote?
Representative Stevens votes no.
You may.
Madam Speaker, for many years, your General Housing and Military Affairs Committee has worked to bring benefits to veterans who live in our state, and we've done it largely in the spirit of balancing our support for our soldiers and the needs of all Vermonters. It took us years to allow property tax relief to disabled veterans, and then to slowly raise those limits when it was shown locally that budgets could handle the number of people who applied. It's also taken years for the House to propose any tax benefit on pensions for a vote on the floor, and I'm glad that the Ways and Means Committee has taken the time to break down the passion behind the request and to the fiscal realities, and to finally propose the benefit in the bill. I voted no on this amendment to honor this major step forward for our veterans who qualify for the benefits. Many, if not most of our soldiers from the National Guard, and to acknowledge the committee for bringing some relief to a substantial number of retired Vermonters.
When the clerk is ready, will she please announce the results of the vote?
Those voting yes, 55. Those voting no, 79.
The nays have it, and you have declined to amend the report of the Committee on Ways and Means. Now, the question is, shall the House propose to the Senate to amend the bill as recommended by the Committee on Ways and Means? Are you ready for that question?
Madam Speaker,
Member from Poultney, Representative McCoy.
I would like to have a division on the question. So is this the point of the script that I do this?
Yes, member.
Okay. So I request this question be divided in the manner as follows. By dividing the committee's second instance of amendment so that the first division would be sections 14 and 15 are considered together. The second one would be sections 9 through 12 together. And then the third one would be section 13 considered on its own. And then the fourth one would be by considering together the committee's first instance of amendment, which adds a reader assistance heading, along with sections 3 through 8 and 16 of the committee's second instance of amendment.
Member from Poultney, the question can be divided in those groupings. So members, the first vote we will be taking is on sections 14 and 15, which are related to military retirement.
And Madam Speaker, when that vote is taken, I would request division.
Will the clerk please clear? Nope, we don't need to change. Never mind. When the vote is taken on sections 14 and 15, it will be done by division. Member from Burlington, Representative Colburn.
Madam Speaker, I would like to interrogate the presenter of the bill, but I also was going to ask for to divide the question in a slightly different way. And perhaps I can tell you what that is and we can, should I do that now, just while we are looking at
Why
that?
don't you let me know and then I'll confer with the clerk.
Sure. My request is to take section 5 as a separate question. So I had been going to propose that we take all the other sections together and that one, but
those have already been divided. Will the House please stand in a brief recess while I consult with the clerk? Will the House please come to order? I'll give members a moment to come back on screen. Member from Burlington, because of the sequence in which these have been divided, the current question on the table is, shall the bill be amended in the first division of amendments, which is section 14 and 15. So when we get down to the fourth one, which is sections which the member from Pulteney requested for sections 3 through 8 and 16, when we get to that question, please raise your hand to ask it then to be further divided to pull section 5 out. Does that make sense?
It does.
Great. So Members, the question is, shall the bill be amended in the first division of amendments, which is sections 14 and 15? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please raise your hand. When the clerk is ready, will she lower the hands, please? All those opposed, please raise your hand. And when the clerk is ready, will she please clear the hands and announce the results of the vote?
Those voting yes, 121. Those voting no, 4.
The ayes do have it, and you have proposed to amend the bill in sections 14 and 15. Now the question is, shall the bill be amended in the second division of amendments, sections 9 through 12?
Roll call, Madam Speaker.
The member from Poultney moves that when the vote is taken, it be taken by roll. Is the member sustained? The member is sustained. When the vote is taken, it shall be taken by roll.
Madam Speaker, point of inquiry.
Member from South Burlington, what is your point of inquiry?
I'm actually, we're moving quickly with different moving parts, and I don't know what we're actually having a roll call on and what it means. So if I could get clarification, and it will help me if I also land on the page that it's in the calendar, because it's going a little too quickly for me.
That is no problem, member from South Burlington. I'm sure a member from the committee will raise her hand to speak more about this after we get to the question. But sections 9 through 12 are the sections related to the cloud tax. And we have not voted yet on the cloud tax. That is just what the member from Poultney asked to have a roll call on. Member, you're muted.
Thank you. A yes vote means we're supporting what's in those sections of the amendment as it currently stands. Is that correct, Madam Speaker?
Sorry, say that again, member.
A yes means we are in support of what is currently stands in the amendment as stated. Is that correct, Madam Speaker?
Correct. That's
okay,
correct.
Thank you.
Member from Brattleboro, Representative Kornheiser.
Thank you, member. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm still orienting myself a little bit myself, but section 9 is the beginning of the sales and use tax on pre-written computer software, and it starts at the bottom of page 994 of your calendar. And the sections that fall after that, section 9 creates a new definition of vendor-hosted pre-written computer software, and section 10 through 12 impose the sales and use tax on the vendor-hosted pre-written computer software and software used to provide data processing services, and repeals the existing exemption for that sales tax from 2015. I have a process question on all this dividing. If I could ask that, what happens to the dates, the effective dates, which are all in a final section that were not brought up in the division?
I believe, I have in my notes here, and maybe she didn't say that, but I have that in the fourth instance of amendment. So.
Thank you. I must have missed that piece when I was taking notes.
All right, member from Barry, is that your hand from before? A lingering hand on a vote? Representative McFawn? No? Okay, so the question is, shall the bill be amended in the second division of amendments, which are sections 9 through 12? Are you ready for the question? If so, the clerk shall commence to call the roll. Will the clerk please hold? I see a hand. Member from Middletown Springs, Representative Aki.
Madam Speaker, I'm still not sure if you could clarify what a yes vote means and what a no vote means. If we vote no, does it mean that that section just goes away altogether? Or is it just that it's being divided out?
This is on the sections. So a yes vote is you support sections 9 through 12. A no vote is that you do not support sections 9 through 12.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Member from Brattleboro, Representative Kornheiser.
Just for the continued sake of clarifying and not confusing, would like to remind you that your Committee on Ways and Means supports this repeal of the sales tax exemption that is in sections 9 through 12. And I will be voting yes.
Member from Poultney, Representative McCoy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Repeal of what we do now is repeal of the exemption. Currently, this software is not taxed in our state. 23 states follow us and do not tax this software. The service, there are 3 types that they're actually going to be taxing now: a platform service, software as a service, and infrastructure as a service. The software as a service is taxed in 11 states. The platform as a service and software as a service is taxed in 4 states. And the infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service is taxed in 7 states. And I will be voting no. We have $300 million surplus. We have $1 billion that we got in last year, and we're looking at another $1 billion coming in this May into our bank accounts. And I do not believe this is the time that we should be changing business or corporate structure tax. Thank you.
Member from Brattleboro, Representative Kornheiser.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As I believe I've perhaps said last time I was presenting a bill, I don't know if it's inappropriate to reference that. While we do have significant one-time funds available to us, your Committee on Ways and Means, and I believe your Committee on Appropriations, still remains concerned and focused on the bottom line of our general fund going into the future, and continues to be interested in creating a tax structure that will be ready for that economy of the future. I'm also looking to clarify those state-by-state comparisons and pulling up my documents on that. So I will put my hand back up in a moment after we hear from some more members.
Member from Brandon, Representative Jerome.
Madam Speaker, I rise in support of S53 and specifically this portion of the bill which repeals the exemption of sales tax on vendor hosted pre-written software. This is software accessed from the cloud, and please remember that any software purchased in hard copy or downloaded is already taxed. These cloud-based software products are taxed in some form already in 21 other states. Now, Vermonters, including myself, are using cloud-based software in our personal and business lives. And by repealing these exemptions, we are adding consistency to our sales tax, allowing these products to be taxed just as we pay sales tax on nearly any other tangible product that we use. It is fair, and it could generate up to $11 million for Vermont. And it helps create a Vermont that works for all of us. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Member from Burlington, Representative Hooper.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to echo what the previous speaker said. I thank her very much for having that detail available. I would hope that any money that we bring into the state we could use for paying some of our overdue bills. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The question is, shall the bill be amended in the second divisions of amendments, sections 9 through 12? Member from Northfield, Representative Donahue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think I'm going to go out on a very shaky limb here because of my challenges around things like softwares and computers. My understanding is that in one earlier iteration of this bill, there was an elimination of the exemption for one of the components, one of the three components that are being discussed, which was much more in line with what many other states do. And I felt that was reasonable and would have supported it. And then in a later iteration, we've expanded it to two other areas, which I cannot attempt to describe, but that are, we are much more in a minority in adding taxation of those. This may be a really good debate to have in the future about what the best arenas are for our policies. This is, I think, incredibly bad timing to add tax and cost burdens on individuals who use these, on our small businesses who use these. And it's an incredibly bad time to be looking at and reworking even some of our detailed tax policy when we're struggling on Zoom. This doesn't, to me, fit in the criteria of working on essential services and essential components of our government when we're doing this kind of new policy and restructuring. And I think it's extremely bad timing for our state to make this kind of a move at this time.
Member from Brattleboro, Representative Kornheiser.
I would like to clarify for the members, and there are so many documents on our committee website related to the components of this bill, and so I'm sorry I haven't been able to point people to all of them, but one set of explanation on the state taxation of pre-written computer software includes, now I'm counting while you are all listening to me, more than a dozen states that tax SaaS only, 4 that tax PAS and SaaS, and then 9 states that tax all of them. One thing that's interesting about this area of tax law is that often this is done through, sometimes this is done through rulemaking and sometimes this is done through legislation. And so the research on it is quite, has been a really kind labor of love from our legislative counsel as she has drilled down into all of these pieces and minutia of tax law. And so I want to thank her for that. And also want to reflect on the fact that we are operating in an increasingly changing landscape. And I know everyone is aware of that the pandemic has paused many things, but it has also drastically expedited the rate of change. And one of those things that we've talked a lot about is this K-shaped recovery. And part of what that means for me is really being explicitly mindful of where revenue is going to be in the future and where it's not going to be in the future, and ensuring that we have a Vermont that is ready for that. And I believe that the repeal of this exemption is an important part of moving into that future tax state.
Member from St. Albans City, Representative Tu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I apologize if my kids just came in. It's bedtime. I rise in opposition of this bill specifically because we asked businesses to shut, or this section of the bill, because we asked businesses over a year ago to shut down in the name of public safety, and now we're going to ask those same businesses to pay a tax on cloud-based software that they need to survive right now because they can't have in-dining. Specifically restaurants who don't have in-dining services or have limited in-dining services. And this is going to be a burden on them who are doing the best they can to stay open during a time to serve us as communities, our communities across the state. So I will not be supporting this section of the bill. Thank you.
Member from Berry City, Representative Anthony.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I simply wanted to follow two threads that have arisen recently. One is that the timing is wrong. And for some of my colleagues, I realize that the timing is seldom right. I respect that. Having said that, this is an exemption that has been around for long enough for this industry to mature. And to another thread that has been introduced to you, either the state of Vermont moves ahead with a sales tax that literally follows where the market is moving. And if the state and ourselves as legislators are reluctant to move in that direction, what we've done is abrogated essentially our responsibility to provide those services that this revenue will support. And frankly, I cannot go there. Either we're committed to the services, in which case we're committed to following where the market is taking us in terms of commercial activity for benefit of the sales tax, or we are not. And consequently, I am in favor of these sections and I urge you to vote yes. Thank you.
The question is, shall the bill be amended in the second instance of division with amendments? Let me start over. Shall the bill be amended in the second instance of division of amendment sections 9 through 12? Member from Fairfield, Representative Gregoire.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I agree with the member from St. Albans that we made businesses shut down for almost a year. Some of them were able to reopen, but some bars, I mean, they're barely open and some aren't at all. The argument that there isn't a right time for some people is true. There's never a time for certain people. That's true. But in some cases, it just isn't the right time. And when we went through what we went through for the last year, I don't think that raising or reinstituting any taxes on the businesses that are struggling to make their ends meet, and some aren't, as we well know, businesses all over, including Vermont, just shut down and will never reopen. It's not the time to increase the taxes. Is it to say there isn't another time when recovery has occurred? Probably the case. I mean, obviously we're moving into a different world, but I don't think now is the time. And I think we need to be more cognizant and thoughtful of our friends and neighbors in these businesses and the employees that obviously would not have work if these businesses don't survive. It's just not the right time. So I appreciate the time to speak, and I will not support these sections. Thank you.
Member from Calais, Representative Ansel.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. There's been a number of comments about timing, and I want to point out that your Ways and Means Committee was very much aware of the difficulty that businesses have been in this last year or so. And we purposely made the effective date of these changes more than a year from now. They don't take effect until June 2022 for exactly that reason. Thank you.
Member from Fairfield, I'm going to assume that's your hand from before. Member from Jericho, Representative Till.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. I was going to make the point that the chair just made, but in addition, somebody talked earlier about, well, we're joining a minority of states. we looked at this last session in 2019, and the number of states that did this tax at that point, if I remember correctly, was 17, and now it's up to 21 in just 2 years or a year and a half. We're not going to be in a minority here for very long. This is where the economy is going. And if we don't keep up with that, we are going to have really substantial problems. And it does require a long lead-in time. We're giving people time to, to prepare for this. So, I would urge people to support this because it's going to be critical for us to do this to keep up with what's happening in the economy.
The question is, shall the bill be amended in the second division of amendments, section 9 through 12? Are you ready for the question? If so, the clerk shall commence to call the roll.
Aki of Middletown Springs.
No.
Representative Aki votes no. Ansel of Callis.
Yes.
Representative Ansel votes yes. Anthony of Berry City.
Yes.
Representative Anthony votes yes. Arison of Weathersfield.
Yeah, yes.
Representative Arison votes yes. Austin of Colchester.
Yes.
Representative Austin votes yes. Bartholomew of Heartland.
Yes.
Representative Bartholomew votes yes. Bachelor of Derby.
No.
Representative Bachelor votes no. Beck of St. Johnsbury.
Yes.
Representative Beck votes yes. Byrong of Virgins.
Yes.
Representative Byrong votes yes. Black of Essex.
Yes.
Representative Black votes yes. Bloomley of Burlington.
Yes.
Representative Bloomley votes yes. Bach of Chester.
Yes.
Representative Bach votes yes. Baumgart's of Manchester.
Yes.
Representative Baumgart's votes yes. Boslin of Westminster.
Yes.
Representative Boslin votes yes. Brady of Williston.
Yes.
Representative Brady votes yes. Brennan of Colchester.
No.
Representative Brennan votes no. Briglin of Thetford.
Yes.
Representative Briglin votes yes. Brown of Richmond.
Yes.
Representative Brown votes yes. Brownell of Pownell.
Yes.
Representative Brownell votes yes. Brumstead of Shelburne.
Yes.
Representative Brumstead votes yes. Burdett of West Rutland.
No.
Representative Burdett votes no. Burke of Brattleboro.
Yes.
Representative Burke votes yes. Burrows of West Windsor.
Yes.
Representative Burrows votes yes. Campbell of St.
Right.
Johnsbury.
Yes.
All right, 1 second. I'm going to give us a mute.
Oh, thank you very much.
And Campbell of St. Johnsbury.
Yes.
Thank you. Representative Campbell votes yes. Canfield of Fairhaven.
No.
Representative Canfield votes no. Chase of Colchester.
I certify this is Representative Chase of Colchester, and I vote yes.
Representative Chase votes yes. Christie of Hartford.
Yes.
Representative Christie votes yes. Chena of Burlington.
Yes.
Representative Chena votes yes. Coffee of Guilford.
Yes.
Representative Coffee votes yes. Colburn of Burlington.
Yes.
Representative Colburn votes yes. Colson of Winooski.
Yes.
Representative Colson votes yes. Conlon of Cornwall.
Yes.
Representative Conlon votes yes. Copeland-Hansis of Bradford.
Yes.
Representative Copeland-Hansis votes yes. Corcoran of Bennington.
Yes.
Representative Corcoran votes yes. Cordes of Lincoln.
Yes.
Representative Cordes votes yes. Coopoli of Rutland City. Dickinson of St. Albans Town.
No.
Representative Dickinson votes no. Dolan of Essex.
Yes.
Representative Dolan of Essex votes yes. Dolan of Waitsfield.
Yes.
Representative Dolan of Waitsfield votes yes. Donahue of Northfield.
No.
Representative Donahue votes no. Donnelly of Hyde Park.
Yes.
Representative Donnelly votes yes. Durfee of Shaftesbury.
Yes.
Representative Durfee votes yes. Elder of Starksboro.
Yes.
Representative Elder votes yes. Emmons of Springfield.
Yes.
Representative Emmons votes yes. Fagan of Rutland City.
No.
Representative Fagan votes no. Feltus of Linden.
No.
Representative Feltus votes no. Gannon of Wilmington.
Yes.
Representative Gannon votes yes. Goldman of Rockingham.
Yes.
Representative Goldman votes yes. Ghostland of Northfield.
No.
Representative Ghostland votes no. Out of Moortown. Graham of Williamstown.
No.
Representative Graham votes no. Gregoire of Fairfield.
No.
Representative Gregoire votes no. Hango of Berkshire.
No.
Representative Hango votes no. Harrison of Chittenden.
No.
Representative Harrison votes no. Helm of Fairhaven.
No.
Representative Helm votes no. Higley of Lowell.
No.
Representative Higley votes no. Hooper of Montpelier.
Yes.
Representative Hooper of Montpelier votes yes. Hooper of Randolph.
Yes.
Representative Hooper of Randolph votes yes. Hooper of Burlington.
I vote yes.
Representative Hooper of Burlington votes yes. Houghton of Essex.
Yes.
Representative Houghton votes yes. Howard of Rutland City. James of Manchester.
Yes.
Representative James votes yes. Jerome of Brandon.
Yes.
Representative Jerome votes yes. Jessup of Middlesex.
Yes.
Representative Jessup votes yes. Kalaki of South Burlington.
Yes.
Representative Kalaki votes yes. Kimball of Woodstock.
No.
Representative Kimball votes no. Kitzmiller, Montpelier. Kornheiser, Brattleboro.
Yes.
Representative Kornheiser votes yes. Leclerc, Berrytown.
No.
Representative Leclerc votes no. Lalonde of South Burlington.
Yes.
Representative Lalonde votes yes. Lanford, Virgins.
Yes.
Representative Lanford votes yes. Lefebvre of Newark.
Yes.
Representative Lefebvre of Newark votes yes. Lefebvre of Orange.
No.
Representative Lefebvre of Orange votes no. Leffler, Venusburg.
No.
Representative Leffler votes no. Lippert of Heinsberg.
Yes.
Representative Lippert votes yes. Long of Newfane.
Yes.
Representative Long votes yes. Marcotte of Coventry.
No.
Representative Marcotte votes no. Martell of Waterford.
No, and I'd like to explain my vote.
Representative Martell votes no. Martin of Franklin. Maslin of Thetford.
Yes.
Representative Maslin votes yes. Matos of Milton.
No.
Representative Matos votes no. McCarthy of St. Albans City.
Yes.
Representative McCarthy votes yes. McCormick of Burlington.
I certify that this is Representative Kurt McCormick of Burlington, and I vote yes.
Representative McCormick votes yes. McCoy of Poultney.
No.
Representative McCoy votes no. McCullough of Williston.
Aye.
Representative McCullough votes yes. McFawn of Berrytown.
No.
Representative McFawn votes no. Morgan L. of Milton.
No.
Representative Morgan L. votes no. Morgan M. of Milton.
No.
Representative Morgan M. votes no. Morris of Springfield.
Yes.
Representative Morris votes yes. Morrissey of Bennington.
I certify that I'm Representative Morrissey of Bennington and vote no.
Representative Morrissey votes no. Mrowicki of Putney.
Yes.
Representative Mrowicki votes yes. Mulvaney Stanek of Burlington.
Yes.
Representative Mulvaney Stanek votes yes. Murphy of Fairfax.
Yes.
Representative Murphy votes yes. Nicole of Ludlow.
Yes.
Representative Nicole votes yes. Nigro of Bennington.
Yes.
Representative Nigro votes yes. Norris of Sheldon.
No.
Representative Norris of Sheldon votes no. Norris of Shoreham. Knott of Rutland City.
Yes.
Representative Knott votes yes. Noyes of Wolcott.
Yes.
Representative Noyes votes yes. O'Brien of Tunbridge.
Yes.
Representative O'Brien votes yes. Odie of Burlington.
Yes.
Representative Odie votes yes. Page of Newport City.
No.
Representative Page votes no. Pyala of Londonderry.
Yes.
Representative Pyala votes yes. Pulaski of Milton.
No.
Representative Pulaski votes no. Parsons of Newberry. Partridge of Wyndham.
Yes.
Representative Partridge votes yes. Pat of Worcester.
Yes.
Representative Pat votes yes. Pearl of Danville. Peterson of Clarendon.
No.
Representative Peterson votes no. Pugh of South Burlington.
Yes.
Representative Pugh votes yes. Rachelson of Burlington.
Yes.
Representative Rachelson votes yes. Redmond of Essex.
Yes.
Representative Redmond votes yes. Rogers of Waterville.
Yes.
Representative Rogers votes yes. Rosenquist of Georgia.
No.
Representative Rosenquist votes no. Sakowitz of Randolph.
Yes.
Representative Sakowitz votes yes. Savage of Swanton.
No.
Representative Savage votes no. Shy of Middlebury.
Yes.
Representative Shy votes yes. Sherman of Stowe.
I certify that this is Representative Sherman from Stowe, and I vote no.
Representative Sherman votes no. Seymour of Sutton. Shaw of Pittsford.
No.
Representative Shaw votes no. Sheldon of Middlebury.
Yes.
Thank you. Representative Sheldon votes yes. Sibilia of Dover.
No.
I'm sorry. Sibilia of Dover.
No.
Thank you. Representative Sibilia votes no. Sims of Craftsbury.
Yes.
Representative Sims votes yes. Small of Winooski.
Yes.
Representative Small votes yes. Smith of Derby.
No.
Representative Smith of Derby votes no. Smith of New Haven.
No.
Representative Smith of New Haven votes no. Squirrel of Underhill.
Yes.
Representative Squirrel votes yes. Stebbins of Burlington.
Yes.
Representative Stebbins votes yes. Stevens of Waterbury.
Yes.
Representative Stevens votes yes. Strong of Albany.
No.
Representative Strong votes no. Sullivan of Dorset.
No.
Representative Sullivan votes no. Supernaut of Barnard.
This is Heather Supernaut, and I vote yes.
Representative Supernaut votes yes. Taylor of Colchester.
Yes.
Representative Taylor votes yes. Terenzini of Rutland Town.
I certify that I am Representative Terenzini of Rutland Town and vote no.
Representative Terenzini votes no. Till of Jericho.
Yes.
Representative Till votes yes. Tolino of Brattleboro.
I certify that I am Representative Tristan Tolino of Brattleboro, and I vote yes.
Representative Tolino votes yes. Toof of St. Albans Town.
No.
Representative Toof votes no. Townsend of South Burlington.
Yes.
Representative Townsend votes yes. Troyano of Stannard.
I vote yes.
Representative Troiano votes yes. Vihovsky of Essex.
I vote yes.
Representative Vihovsky votes yes. Waltz of Berry City.
Yes.
Representative Waltz votes yes. Webb of Shelburne.
Yes.
Representative Webb votes yes. White of Bethel.
Yes.
Representative White of Bethel votes yes. White of Hartford.
Yes.
Representative White of Hartford votes yes. Whitman of Bennington.
Yes.
Representative Whitman votes yes. Williams of Granby.
No.
Representative Williams votes no. Wood of Waterbury.
Yes.
Representative Wood votes yes. Yakavoni of Morristown.
Yes.
Representative Yakavoni votes yes. Yantoshka of Charlotte.
Yes.
Representative Yantoshka votes yes. Coopoli of Rutland City. Grad of Moortown. Howard of Rutland City. Kitzmiller of Montpelier. Martin of Franklin. Norris of Shoreham. Parsons of Newberry. Pearl of Danville. And Seymour of Sutton.
For purposes of explanation, member from Waterford, Representative Martell.
Yes, I voted no on this bill. Before, we always laughed about how money grows on trees. Apparently, the trees have all died because now we're going to move up to the clouds to fill our state coffers. How sad has it come to this? By the way, if I buy a TurboTax at the store, I pay sales tax once, not monthly or whenever you decide to tax us.
And when the clerk is ready, will she announce the results of the vote?
Those voting yes, 96. Those voting no, 44.
The ayes have it, and you have proposed to amend the bill as recommended by the Committee on Ways and Means in sections 9 through 12. Now the question is, shall the bill be amended in the third division of amendment, which is section 13? Member from Brattleboro, Representative Kornheiser.
Section 13 deals with fees paid to the Department of Financial Regulation in order to sell mutual funds in the state. And you can find that somewhere in the middle of page 996 of your calendar. I'm going to talk slowly in case anyone wants to scroll around and find it. And I'm actually just going to read you the entire section because it's one sentence long. Investment companies subject to 15 USC 80A-1 shall pay to the commissioner an initial notice filing fee of $2,000 and an annual renewal fee of $1,750 for each portfolio or class of investments, company securities for which a notice filing is submitted. And the implementation date for that is July 1st, 2021. We heard from the Department of Financial Regulation about this. They did not take a position and were comfortable with the effective dates.
Member from Pulteney, I'm sorry, member,
Sorry, one more final half of my sentence. I'm speaking a little more slowly at this point in the evening, forgive me. Your Committee on Ways and Means supports this section of the bill, and that is why we added it to our amendment to the Senate bill. Thank you.
Member from Pulteney, Representative McCoy.
Division on this, Madam Speaker.
When we take the vote, it will be by division. Member.
Just can I just make a statement now?
You have the floor, member.
Okay, sorry. Just so everyone is aware, mutual funds, this is an increase of $250, which may not seem like a lot, but it puts us as the highest or one of the highest taxed mutual funds in the nation. And I will be voting against it.
Member from Charlotte, Representative Young-Tachka.
Yes, a point of inquiry, Madam Speaker. My Zoom kind of crashed and I had to leave and get back in. So what sections are we on?
We are on section 13, and there's been a request to vote on this section by division.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Member from Northfield, Representative Donahue.
Yes, Madam Speaker, may I interrogate the member reporting the bill?
The member from Brattleboro is interrogated.
I just wanted to verify, because I think, believe you said that on this section of the bill, the only testimony was from the Department of Financial Regulation. Was that correct?
And Legislative Council and Joint Fiscal.
So there were no stakeholders at all that were offered an opportunity to give testimony, I take it.
I think of the Department of Financial Regulation as a stakeholder, but it seems that you do not, Madam Speaker.
I thank the member for the response, and I would respond by saying, no, I think of stakeholders as those affected by an action, and I don't think of DFR as being affected. I think they're the administrators. Thank you.
If I may, Madam Speaker.
A member from Brattleboro.
We did put out word that we were looking into this change, and I just want to clarify, these are not fees paid by people purchasing mutual funds or within the state when mutual funds are being sold. These are paid by national and international corporations for in order to license themselves essentially to sell mutual funds within the state. They pay them in every state. It's part of the cost of doing business for these companies. And there's a number of sort of other categories of this that I think we heard about a lot of them, sort of similar mechanisms in our insurance bill, which was 2 days ago. I've lost track of all the days, but sort of similar mechanisms with the Department of Financial Regulation on those.
The question is, shall the bill be amended in the third division of amendment in section 13? Member from Young-Tachka, is that your hand from before?
I'm sorry, it is. Thank you.
Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please raise your hand.
Is this my one?
And when the clerk is ready, she may clear the hands. Now, all those opposed, please raise your hand. And when the clerk is ready, will she please clear the hands and announce the vote?
Those voting yes, 94. Those voting no, 37.
The ayes do have it, and you have proposed to amend the bill as recommended by the Committee on Ways and Means in section 13. Now, members, that brings us to the fourth request for division, which is sections 3 through 8 and section 16. Member from Brattleboro, Representative Kornheiser.
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
Member from Jericho, where is your point of order?
Where's section 1 in this division?
We are on the amendment from the committee, and the amendment does not include sections 1 102.
Okay, thank you.
Member from Brattleboro.
We are on section 3, and sections 3 through 8 refer to the changes we made to corporate income tax. They begin on page 990. And within that, we will find changes to the single sales apportionment factor, the throwback rule, the repeal of the 80-20 language, the change from Joyce to Finnegan, and significant changes in our corporate minimum tax liability. And your Committee on Ways and Means supports this section of the bill and asks for your vote.
Member from Burlington, Representative Colburn.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As you know, I'm interested in asking for further division of these sections and apologize in advance. But before I do so, may I interrogate the presenter of the bill?
The member from Brattleboro is interrogated.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, can you tell us more about the reasoning in Section 5 behind the move to the single sales factor policy, given that it's estimated to result in an annual loss of up to $20 million in corporate tax revenues?
Yes. And I know these are separate sections, and we will have the conversation about their divisibility in a moment, but I do think it's important to think about, I've been thinking about all of these changes, and I believe the committee has been thinking about all of these changes as part of one suite. And in that thinking, it's focusing our corporate tax policy in the future and how we understand that tax liability for, as I've said, the economy of the future. And so the thing is that tax liability should be focused most on sales when we're thinking about multinational corporations, and we should move away from an emphasis on people and property. When corporations have significant people and property, meaning a significant workforce and significant land holdings or work in our state, we see that as they are already investing in Vermont, and they are already perhaps even paying other taxes in Vermont, say through payroll taxes, or their employees are paying payroll taxes as well. And so as we're moving towards an economy that is more focused on sales, we wanted to make sure that our tax policy was following that. But in order to do that, we really need to continue to make sure that our combined reporting is whole. And so the profits from those sales cannot be hidden in subsidiaries, cannot be moved away. We are really looking at the full whole of a corporation in order to calculate that liability. And that is also part of the reason we put in place these new corporate minimum tax thresholds.
Just one more question, Madam Speaker. Did the committee identify or review any significant research that shows that single sales factor policies result in greater job creation or retention in states that have deployed them?
We did hear testimony to that effect. I think it is absolutely debatable on whether or not this would result in recruiting. You know, we could even see sort of a parallel to our previous conversation on military income tax relief, that it is certainly a debated issue in economics on whether or not tax relief or tax rebates causes businesses to make different decisions. And so I would say that the major reason for this was not about the idea that we would be recruiting new businesses to the state. It was about moving closer in line with national policy and placing the emphasis where the profits emphasis would be.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just want to note that I did read the fiscal note on this bill and this particular proposal, and both the Joint Fiscal Office and Department of Taxes in that fiscal note estimated that this tax change will largely benefit Vermont's top 100 corporate tax filers. So I think I'm just struggling to understand why that's a priority for our state right now, particularly on the other side of a tough debate that asks teachers and state workers to pay more out of their pockets to meet some of the state's obligations. In Massachusetts, the Raytheon Corporation successfully advocated for this sales-only tax policy to apply to defense contractors, and then cut 8,000 jobs in the state after it was enacted, which led one Massachusetts legislative opponent to label the policy as a payoff for layoffs. There's nothing in this tax break that truly compels companies to create or maintain jobs, and the research I've seen suggests that these policies actually don't have discernible impacts on jobs. Many states have actually seen job loss after enacting them. And I think some of the analysis on these policies is that the more states adopt them across the country, the less value they have in terms of recruitment. I think it's also worth noting that corporations such as Ford, AT&T, and Kraft, who have lobbied heartily for these policies in states where it would benefit them, and against it in states where it would be to their detriment. So this sales only factor may make sense as a federal policy where its effects could even out, but as a state policy, I'm really skeptical and concerned. And so for that reason, Madam Speaker, I ask that when we vote on this amendment, we divide the questions and I hope I'm getting this right, so that we vote on sections 3 through 4, 6 through 8, and 16 altogether, and then separately on section 5.
All right, member. So if I need to just clarify one thing with the clerk. So if the House will stand in recess for one moment, that would be back in 1 minute. Will the House please come to order? After conferring with the clerk, the current question is, well, let me go back. Because of the order and the flow of these, we need to take up section 5 first, and then do the remainder, which is 3 through 4, 6 through 8, and then 16. It needs to be done in that flow. So with that, the member from Burlington has further requested to divide the question by voting on section 5. Member from Brattleboro, Representative Kornheiser.
Few thoughts. Because we have the tax department is one of the areas of our state government with the strongest confidentiality. We cannot say which corporations explicitly would benefit from this and which would not. Certainly, there would be shifts in many corporations' liability. When we look at any tax policy, or tax changes, the largest benefit is going to be to those who have the largest liability because of simply how math works. So I just want to say, sort of set that piece of the record straight, because I think it's it's an important piece of the semantics that we encounter when we have these conversations. Also, our fiscal note as it stands, according to Joint Fiscal Office, all of these, I understand that in statute it's divisible, but I want to make sure that members understand that fiscally it's not divisible at this point, that each of these 5 categories are quite dependent on each other for the numbers in their estimates.
The question is, shall the bill be amended in the 4th division of amendment in section 5? Member from Burlington, Representative Hooper.
Click one, click the other. Thank you, Madam Speaker. That last comment from the member from Brattleboro certainly introduced question into the process, but I'd like to speak in favor of not supporting the change to number 5. It brought back sort of in the conversation a phrase my mother used to always hit me with: if Johnny jumped off the roof, would you think you would do it too? And I got the impression we're looking at something that other states have done, and we're not 100% sure that it will produce the results we want here, because we are quite atypical in some ways. So the question that comes up is it time? I think we're a little cash drunk now when we look at things from our federal infusion, but we do have significant liabilities that are unfunded. So we have bills to pay. I just have to ask, is it time to do this? Thank you.
Member from St. Johnsbury, Representative Beck.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. To answer the question, I know I wasn't interrogated, but I'm going to just ask the question that the member from Burlington just asked, and the answer is yes. Right now, the rest of the country is moving very quickly to a single sales factor, and that makes Vermont an unattractive place for corporations to locate, or existing corporations that are here to expand. And with all the churn, especially with the pandemic, there's going to be a lot of restructuring in corporate America in the next 2 to 5 years. And for Vermont to be able to take advantage of that and to be attractive to those corporations, we need to have a tax policy that attracts them. When they're in this state right now, we tax them on their property, their payroll, and their sales. We actually double weight their sales, whether they sell anything here or not. And if they're outside of the state, they only get taxed on their sales in the state. So, if they're here and they're not selling anything here, all of their economic activities outside the state, but there's a significant tax liability. They could move outside the state, sell everything they're selling right now, and have no tax liability to the state of Vermont. Now, when they're here, they pay property tax. Their employees pay income taxes and payroll taxes and sales taxes and everything else. But we are really at risk here of being out of step with the rest of the country. And these corporations, when they look at Vermont, because we tax them on their property and their payroll and not just their sales, that as they're doing a lot of restructuring in the next 2 to 5 years, we're just not going to be terribly attractive. And then the other sections, and we'll get to them later, are to make sure that we capture those sales. If we say we're going to tax corporations on sales, then we need to actually tax those corporations on sales. And as the member from Brattleboro stated just a few speakers ago, that is why all of the Joyce to Finnegan and the 80-20 and treating the unitary groups, and to make sure that, okay, we really are capturing those sales. So these things do go together. They move with an economy that is evolving, and they move with a restructuring that is going to occur in the next 2 to 5 years as we exit this pandemic we're in. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Member from Jericho, Representative Till.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In Ways and Means, we took testimony from a number of national tax experts. And what they told us was that states are moving rapidly towards single sales factor. And the reason they're doing that is to be more inviting, or at least not pushing away expansions of businesses that are already there. I mean, if you were going to expand, would you expand in a place that's going to tax you on your property, on your workers, or would you expand somewhere where that's not going to happen? And so it turns out we are the only state in New England that doesn't use a single sales factor. And it puts us in a less competitive position with other states. So the question is, if you want to say which corporations do you want to pay the most of the tax? Do you want the ones who are domiciled here, or do you want the people who are doing business here, people who are selling into Vermont and have economic activity, but not just the physical presence? And I think most of the world has seen very clearly that most of the states have seen very clearly that the single sales factor is the way to go. And you don't want to be left behind in this. And so that's why this entire package comes together. This is not an isolated piece. This is really tied up with the 80-20 rule, the Finnegan and Joyce discussion. It's really a bigger package than just this. And I would really discourage people from trying to pick out one piece of this and try to remove that from the package. Thank you.
Member from Burlington, Representative Colburn.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just want to note, I've been reading about this tax policy for much of the day, and feel like on the other side of this, I really hope I can swap some citations and an expert analysis with members of the Ways and Means Committee, because what I'm finding is really kind of the opposite of what I'm hearing them say. I'm finding lots of research that supports that there's really not a strong competitive advantage for states that adopt this policy, that it largely benefits large manufacturing companies, like very large manufacturing companies who don't do any sales in the state, but do perhaps have, like a plant or like a global foundries will really benefit from this tax policy, for example. And so however the vote goes down, I'm hopeful that we can just share information and research on the other side of this, because what I'm finding is very different from what I'm hearing from members in the committee. And I understand that the committee has built kind of a suite of tax policies here, but it's also clear to me that this policy is independent and not functionally contingent on the other policies, to my view.
Member from Brattleboro, Representative Kornheiser.
Speaker, did I jump the line here? I ran for office because I wanted a progressive tax policy, and talking about taxes on the campaign trail is really not particularly sexy or interesting for most people who show up to have those conversations. But that has been my primary focus. And when last biennium, when Ways and Means looked at this, I dove in from the Commerce Committee side. And I continue to believe, issues of sort of state to state competitiveness aside, because I do agree that is a very complex issue, and economists come down on all sides of this. The future of our economy and the future of corporate profits is in sales. The future of our economy in Vermont might not be. And so I think it's really important, if we want to ask corporations nationally who operate in Vermont to pay their fair share, that we step forward and make these changes. Vermont is, sometimes we think of ourselves as an island, and sometimes we remember that we are part of a global economy. And Vermont is a very tiny piece of that global economy. And I am not under the assumption that something we do is going to magically attract businesses from Mississippi to move to Vermont. People make complex business decisions every day based on the infrastructure in a community, based on all of the things that we raise revenue for. But as we move through these changes, including the single sales factor, we're able to build a corporate tax structure here that pulls in revenue from corporations who operate all over the country and come here just to sell us things. And for me, that's a really important way of making sure that Vermont is taking control of its revenue destiny.
I don't see a speaker anymore.
Emily Long, I think it's
Member from Burlington, Representative Hooper.
Thank you, Representative Long. I think that the statement that the member from Brattleboro made is very on point and very well done. And I thank her for doing that. And I would agree that there will be changes to our economy. At this point, though, what's proposed on this piece of paper seems to be knocking off your left leg so that you can get in the race next week. These are huge contributors to our economy at this point, and we have yet to migrate to the sales. So again, I'm back to the is it time thing. I think this is sort of, to me, like building a football stadium for the football team on taxpayers' dollars. Kind of a race to the bottom sort of thing where we're not 100% sure we're doing the right thing. So I'm inclined to say it is not time. Thank you.
Member from, I don't know where you're from. Member from Essex, Representative Bahus.
Thank you, Speaker. I struggle to consider giving tax breaks to our corporations and lessening our potential revenue in a moment when we just asked teachers and state employees to pay more. We are flush with one-time money, and I think that we need to be very thoughtful and very planful about how we shift and we change, and we need to indicate who are we asking to pay? And we have plenty of unfunded liabilities. I would echo what the representative from Burlington said, that now is not the time. We may need changes, but I don't believe it is now. Thank you.
Thank you, member. Member from Burlington, Representative Rachelson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. May I interrogate the presenter of the bill?
The member from Brattleboro is interrogated.
Madam Speaker, when would this tax kick in? Would it be at the same later date that your chair, the chair of Ways and Means, spoke of when we were looking at taxing cloud software?
Thank you for that question. I can put my hand down in addition to answering that question. Yes, we are. It's actually it's a bit later than that. It is, sorry, it is not, I'm losing my months. It is January of 2022. So it is out into the future so that both people can get ready for this, our tax department can get ready for this, and it will be a staggered implementation because fiscal years and filing years and calendar years are a little different for everyone. And so we won't, again, see the full impacts of this until probably fiscal year 23 and 24. So we have a delayed start. And if I could bring your attention back to a very small reporting provision, which I have certainly lost the page number on, but is within this section, we are going to continue to collect data on both property and payroll so that we can understand the implications of this. This is not imagined by your Committee on Ways and Means as a revenue bill. We are really, or as a bill that, cuts taxes for anyone. We are really imagining this after years of work that I was not involved in, and then years of work that I have been involved in, as a recalibration and a modernization of our tax code. And that is not semantics.
So, Madam Speaker, are there, and perhaps I should have been reading these fiscal notes all day today too, but is there any projection of what, if we're prepping for the future, would that be bringing in more revenue? Do we believe there's going to be a higher return on investment? I know in the past, we have given some large corporations some really great breaks, and they haven't always yielded what we hoped. And by we, I don't necessarily mean our particular body at this time, but yeah.
I am not sure of the tax breaks that you're referring to. However, and I am quite hesitant to look too far into the future, as is our joint fiscal office. And that's one of the reasons you'll see that the repeal of the 80-20 language has an unknown positive, because it really is quite hard to see into the future on these issues. We know, but what we do know is in, and I'm so sorry to repeat myself, but it's been a long day, so I'm a little bit losing track of what I've repeated and haven't. In this economy that we're emerging into post-COVID, and with the tax changes from the Biden administration, we do imagine that we will be able to capture more corporate revenue from the sales side, as both on the national level, some of these processes are tightened up, and as we tighten them up here in Vermont.
And one last question is there, let's say they aren't as, like, worst case scenario, we do this and it isn't yielding. Would we make a change, or this doesn't sunset? Is that right? It isn't. Is this like a one-time or two-time, or it's sort of ongoing?
So we can't tie the hands of the future legislature or Thurs. Those two words are always so mixed up, aren't they? However, as I said, we are continuing to track the issue and will be constantly monitoring it. And as you'll see in the changes that we made to corporate minimum taxes, I think that's a really good sign of how your Ways and Means Committee, while we did not have a study or a sunset or a sunrise date set in statute, we returned to something that we did for the first time. I am scrolling around on my screen, excuse me. We're returning to something that we did in 2012 to say, okay, we set corporate minimum tax brackets. How has our liability of folks who are paying that corporate minimum tax, how has that changed? And how do we need to change the brackets to meet that? So while we are collecting information, and we will continue to study the issue, even though there's no sunset or study provision.
And Madam Speaker, my apologies. Can you remind me of the vote on this section? I know you didn't do it by sections, but I just want to hear the vote.
Absolutely, thank you. Your Committee on Ways and Means voted for this full bill in all of the glorious sections that we have gone through this evening on a vote of 8-3-0.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
The question is, shall the House propose to the Senate to amend the bill as set forth in Section 5 of the report of the Committee on Ways and Means? Representative from Calais, Representative Ansel.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just wanted to make a couple of points. A couple members have mentioned the fairly significant loss of revenue that's associated with this Section 5. One of the reasons that number is so high is that corporate tax revenue, which is always very volatile, right now is fairly high. And so if you're looking at say a 10% loss, 10% of 100 million is a lot more money than 10% of 80 million. So we're measuring those losses at a very high level. And so I just wanted to flag that. And I also wanted to make to me is a related point, which is there are a number of very large corporations that operate in the state of Vermont that have basically no tax liability at all. And those corporations, I realize probably I'm not supposed to speak about another section of the bill, but that's one reason why dividing the bill the way we are is difficult in terms of the debate. But in another section of the bill, we're substantially increasing the corporate minimum tax for those very large corporations that pay right now $750 a year, which is when you consider that they have sales in excess of 300 million. That's an astonishingly small amount of money and a great concern to us. So corporate tax is complicated, and the corporations, we get most of our money, frankly, from out-of-state corporations, these large multinational corporations, and we get the revenue through this apportionment process, apportionment factor, which is what we're trying to change here. And so our belief in the committee is that if we can shift our corporate tax revenue to corporations that are essentially located outside the state but do business in the state, that's good for our state. And so we're hoping that the body will agree with us that this is an important step into the future for our corporate tax structure. Thank you.
Member from Pulteney, Representative McCoy. Representative McCoy.
I had a great speech and nobody heard it because I was muted. Madam Speaker, I had originally separated this out differently, but since Section 5 is now a standalone, I will be voting yes on this section.
The question is, hang on. The question is, shall the House propose to the Senate to amend the bill as set forth in Section 5 of the report of the Committee on Ways and Means? Representative, member from Winooski, Representative Small.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. May I inquire of the presenter of the bill?
The member from Brattleboro is interrogated.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, a question came up for me earlier when a statement was made about corporations paying their fair share. And so my question is, did your committee take testimony on the fairness of a single sales factor corporate income tax and how that would be applied across corporations?
We took testimony on the single sales factor and how it would be applied across corporations quite a few times, member.
If I may clarify, Madam Speaker, I'm looking at the fairness of the corporate income tax across corporations when we look at this single sales factor.
The Committee on Ways and Means has a few key principles of a good tax system, and fairness is a very important pillar in that. And so any conversation we have regarding the tax system, we look at fairness, we look at simplicity, a few other things.
Thank you, member. As we've seen in other states when it comes to the single sales factor, I'll point to Illinois in particular. When the corporation owns property and has employees in the state, but they make all of their sales out of the state, what we effectively see is no state income tax coming in, regardless of how prolific their sales may be. And with that being said, I want to say that I do not support this section of the amendment, and that when the vote be taken, it be taken by roll.
Will the clerk lower the hands, please? The clerk's gonna have to help me with this.
Is the member sustained?
Oh, yes. Is the member sustained? The member is sustained. When the vote is taken, it will be taken by roll. So the question is, shall the House propose to the Senate to amend the bill as set forth in section 5 of the report of the Committee on Ways and Means? Member from Fairfield, Representative Gregoire.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just as a point for everybody to consider, in economics, in the study of economics, there's something called the tax incidence. It's a section. Basically what it says is that an entity upon whom a tax is levied does not necessarily bear the full burden of that tax. And this is the case of corporations. Whenever we talk about corporate tax, it's easy to think about some big monolith that pays taxes, but the reality is they don't pay taxes. Corporations are collectors of taxes. The people who pay the taxes are the consumers. Consumers pay all expenses of corporations. And so I'm not trying to convince anybody anything, but I'm just, when we talk about corporate tax, don't think about them as some monolith somewhere else. It really is something that comes from consumers. They don't have a tree out back. They don't grow money. It all comes, every penny comes from either investors or consumers. And so thank you for your time, and I will support this section. Thank you.
Member from Thetford, Representative Maslin.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just to add a little perspective over the last several years on our discussions of corporate taxes, we used to talk about corporate taxes mostly exclusively in terms of what we call unitary combined taxes, which is to say we recognize that corporations that owe taxes in Vermont do businesses in a number of other states, jurisdictions. And the issue with unitary combined is to look at all those taxes from different jurisdictions and combine them and determine what portion of that should be paid to the Vermont Treasury. The things that we've been talking about this evening at some length, I would say, or we could perhaps describe as divisions of unitary combined, different ways to look at things, different ways to apply the taxes. And as several members have said, they're all part of a tax system for taxing corporations. And we've had a number of very articulate answers that I won't try to elaborate on, except to say that this is part of a tax structure that Ways and Means and our tax department have been trying to build and elaborate for several years now. And after considerable work and considerable effort on the part of this committee, Ways and Means Committee, to get our heads around these things and find out how they all function together, we feel quite sincerely that what's before you and all the different amendments is what we should be doing for the good of Vermont, and to encourage, as has been said, for corporations to do businesses within our borders. And we hope you'll continue to support the other amendments that have been offered in this one too. Thank you very much.
Member from St. Johnsbury, Representative Beck.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would just like to thank the member from Fairfield for his comments about the tax incidence tax and consumers. And he's exactly correct. And that's why sales are the best measure of the economic activity of a corporation. Right now, as I'm sure you all know, there are way more corporations outside the state that are selling into Vermont that have no payroll or presence here, or no property presence. And we're not taxing them at what really is their full liability, because our tax system is based off of payroll and property at the same amount that sales are. So not only some people might look at this as we're not going to maybe tax some of the corporations in our state as much, but we're going to tax the corporations outside of our state that have a large sales presence in Vermont more than we are right now. So I thank the member from Fairfield for those comments.
Member from Charlotte, Representative Young-Tachka.
Yes, point of inquiry, Madam Chair. If this particular section is voted down, what are the implications for the other sections in this group?
Member.
In terms of the effect on the revenue and all.
Going to member from Brattleboro, Representative Kornheiser.
We don't have a fiscal note on that. All 5 of the changes and sort of some of the smaller changes within each of those 5 changes are tied to each other. And so understanding the fiscal impacts of removing one piece and leaving the others in there is something that it will take more than it would take more than an hour to get answers on that, because they've all been calculated as dependencies with each other.
Okay, thank you.
So question is, shall the bill be amended in the 4th division of amendment in section 5? Member from Brattleboro, Representative Kornheiser. Nope, that's from before, right? Are you ready for the question? Member Burlington, Representative Hooper.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. May I inquire as
Member from Burlington. I think this is your 3rd time speaking, so you need to ask for permission.
May I speak a 3rd time, Madam Speaker?
Absent objection, you may.
Thank you. May I inquire of the member from Brattleboro?
The member from Brattleboro is interrogated.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. With your last comment, member, did you mean, in answer to the representative from Charlotte's question, that the fiscal note is intertwined and you can't separate things out, or the package of taxes is intertwined in some way, and to take one out will be a detriment to the other?
The member from Charlotte asked me about the fiscal impact, and so I answered the question with the fiscal impact being tied up with each other and they cannot be separated, and all of the numbers would change. However, the policy impact is also all tied up together, and the implications of the other policy pieces will, and the benefits that we're looking for a modern tax system will also have a detrimental effect if this piece is removed.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Member from Jericho, Representative Till.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We've heard that doing this would benefit big manufacturing companies, but I just want to put that in perspective for Vermont's economy. Vermont manufacturing is 9% of the Vermont gross state product, 9%. We don't have a kind of manufacturing you might find in Illinois or Pennsylvania or some of the other states that have a fair amount of manufacturing there. And so, while yes, it would benefit large manufacturers, we really don't have that much in terms of large manufacturers. What this will really benefit is the smaller Vermont companies who are now paying both based on the sales and on their physical presence here in the state, and will shift some of the tax burden to bigger out-of-state companies who do business in Vermont instead of those who are creating jobs here in Vermont.
Question is, shall the bill be amended in the fourth division of amendment in section 5? Member from Berrytown, Representative McVaughn.
Madam, thank you, Madam Speaker. Could you just, in one sentence, explain exactly what we're voting on now? Is it section 5?
Member, we are on section 5.
Thank you.
The question is, shall the bill be amended in the fourth division of amendment section 5? Are you ready for the question? If so, the clerk shall commence to call the roll.
Aki of Middletown Springs.
Yes.
Representative Aki votes yes. Ansel of Callis.
Yes.
Representative Ansel votes yes. Anthony of Berry City.
Yes.
Representative Anthony votes yes. Arison of Weathersfield.
Yes.
Representative Arison votes yes. Austin of Colchester.
Yes.
Representative Austin votes yes. Bartholomew of Heartland.
Yes.
Representative Bartholomew votes yes. Bachelor of Derby. Beck of St. Johnsbury.
Yes.
Representative Beck votes yes. Byrong of Virgins.
Yes.
Representative Byrong votes yes. Black of Essex.
Yes.
Representative Black votes yes. Bloomley of Essex. Bloomley of Burlington. Sorry.
Yes.
Representative Bloomley votes yes. Bach of Chester.
Yes.
Representative Bach votes yes. Bongarts of Manchester.
Yes.
Representative Bongarts votes yes. Boslin of Westminster.
Yes.
Representative Boslin votes yes. Brady of Williston.
Yes.
Representative Brady votes yes. Brennan of Colchester.
Yes.
Representative Brennan votes yes. Briglin of Thetford.
Yes.
Representative Briglin votes yes. Brown of Richmond.
Yes.
Representative Brown votes yes. Brownell of Pownell.
Yes.
Representative Brownell votes yes. Brumstead of Shelburne.
Yes.
Representative Brumstead votes yes. Burt of West Rutland.
Yes.
Representative Burdett votes yes. Burke of Brattleboro.
Yes.
Representative Burke votes yes. Burrows of West Windsor.
Yes.
Representative Burrows votes yes. Campbell of St. Johnsbury.
Yes.
Representative Campbell votes yes. Canfield of Fairhaven.
Yes.
Representative Canfield votes yes. Chase of Colchester.
This is Representative Chase of Colchester, and I vote yes.
Representative Chase votes yes. Christie of Hartford. Sheena of Burlington.
No.
Representative Sheena votes no. Coffee of Guilford.
Yes.
Representative Coffee votes yes. Colburn of Burlington.
No.
Representative Colburn votes no. Colston of Winooski.
Yes.
Representative Colston votes yes. Conlon of Cornwall.
Yes.
Representative Conlon votes yes. Copeland Hansis of Bradford.
Yes.
Representative Copeland Hansis votes yes. Corcoran of Bennington.
Yes.
Representative Corcoran votes yes. Cordes of Lincoln.
Yes.
Representative Cordes votes yes. Cooplee of Rutland City.
Yes.
Representative Cooplee votes yes. Dickinson of St. Albans Town.
Yes.
Representative Dickinson votes yes. Dolan of Essex.
Yes.
Representative Dolan of Essex votes yes. Dolan of Waitsfield.
Yes.
Representative Dolan of Waitsfield votes yes. Donahue of Northfield.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Donahue of Northfield.
Yes.
Thank you. I didn't hear you the first time. Representative Donahue votes yes. Donnelly of Hyde Park.
Yes.
Representative Donnelly votes yes. Durfee of Shaftesbury.
Yes.
Representative Durfee votes yes. Elder of Starksboro.
Yes.
Representative Elder votes yes. Emmons of Springfield.
Yes.
Representative Emmons votes yes. Fagan of Rutland City.
Yes.
Representative Fagan votes yes. Feltus of Linden.
Yes.
Representative Feltus votes yes. Gannon of Wilmington.
Yes.
Representative Gannon votes yes. Goldman of Rockingham.
Yes.
Representative Goldman votes yes. Ghostland of Northfield.
Yes.
Representative Ghostland votes yes. Grad of Moortown. Graham of Williamstown. Gregoire of Fairfield.
Yes.
Representative Gregoire votes yes. Hengo of Berkshire.
Yes.
Representative Hengo votes yes. Harrison of Chittenden.
Yes.
Representative Harrison votes yes. Helm of Fairhaven.
Yes.
Representative Helm votes yes. Higley of Lowell.
Yes.
Representative Higley votes yes. Hooper of Montpelier.
Yes.
Representative Hooper of Montpelier votes yes. Hooper of Randolph.
Yes.
Representative Hooper of Randolph votes yes. Hooper of Burlington.
Yes.
Representative Hooper of Burlington votes yes. Houghton of Essex.
Yes.
Representative Houghton votes yes. Howard of Rutland City. James of Manchester.
Yes.
Representative James votes yes. Jerome of Brandon.
Yes.
Representative Jerome votes yes. Jessup of Middlesex.
Yes.
Representative Jessup votes yes. Kalaki of South Burlington.
Yes.
Representative Kalaki votes yes. Kimball of Woodstock.
Yes.
Representative Kimball votes yes. Kitzmiller of Montpelier. Kornheiser of Brattleboro.
Yes.
Representative Kornheiser votes yes. Leclerc, Berrytown.
Yes.
Representative Leclerc votes yes. Lalone of South Burlington.
Yes.
Representative Lalone votes yes. Lanford of Virgins.
Yes.
Representative Lanford votes yes. Lefebvre of Newark.
You don't have to move, but
Yes. Representative LaFave of Newark votes yes. LaFave of Orange.
Yes.
Representative LaFave of Orange votes yes. Leffler of Venusburg.
Yes.
Representative Leffler votes yes. Lippert of Heinsberg.
Yes.
Representative Lippert votes yes. Long of Newfane.
Yes.
Representative Long votes yes. Marcotte of Coventry.
Yes.
Representative Marcotte votes yes. Martell of Waterford. Martin of Franklin. Maslin of Thetford.
Yes.
Representative Maslin votes yes. Matos of Milton.
Yes.
Representative Matos votes yes. McCarthy of St. Albans City.
Yes.
Representative McCarthy votes yes. McCormick of Burlington.
I certify that this is Representative McCormick of Burlington, and I vote yes.
Representative McCormick votes yes. McCoy of Pulteney.
Yes.
Representative McCoy votes yes. McCullough of Williston.
Aye.
Representative McCullough votes yes. McFawn of Berrytown.
Yes.
Representative McFawn votes yes. Morgan L. of Milton.
Yes.
Representative Morgan L. votes yes. Morgan M. of Milton.
Yes.
Representative Morgan M. votes yes. Morris of Springfield.
Yes.
Representative Morris votes yes. Morrissey of Bennington.
I certify I'm Representative Morrissey of Bennington and vote yes.
Representative Morrissey votes yes. Murwicki of Putney.
Yes.
Representative Murwicki votes yes. Mulvaney Stanek of Burlington.
No.
Representative Mulvaney Stanek votes no. Murphy of Fairfax.
Yes.
Representative Murphy votes yes. Nicole of Ludlow.
Yes.
Representative Nicole votes yes. Nigro of Bennington.
Yes.
Representative Nigro votes yes. Norris of Sheldon.
Yes.
Representative Norris of Sheldon votes yes. Norris of Shoreham. Knott of Rutland City.
Yes.
Representative Knott votes yes. Noyes of Wolcott.
Yes.
Representative Noyes votes yes. O'Brien of Tunbridge.
Yes.
Representative O'Brien votes yes. Odie of Burlington.
Yes.
Representative Odie votes yes. Page of Newport City.
Yes.
Representative Page votes yes. Payal of Londonderry.
Yes.
Representative Payala votes yes. Pulaski of Milton.
Yes.
Representative Pulaski votes yes. Parsons of Newberry. Partridge of Wyndham.
Yes.
Representative Partridge votes yes. Pat of Worcester.
Yes.
Representative Pat votes yes. Pearl of Danville. Peterson of Clarendon.
Yes.
Representative Peterson votes yes. Pugh of South Burlington.
Yes.
Representative Pugh votes yes. Rachelson of Burlington.
Yes.
Representative Rachelson votes yes. Redmond of Essex.
Yes.
Representative Redmond votes yes. Rogers of Waterville.
Yes.
Representative Rogers votes yes. Rosenquist of Georgia.
Yes.
Representative Rosenquist votes yes. Sakowitz of Randolph.
Yes.
Representative Sakowitz votes yes. Savage of Swanton.
Yes.
Representative Savage votes yes. Shy of Middlebury.
Yes.
Representative Shy votes yes. Sherman of Stowe.
I certify that this is Representative Sherman from Stowe, and I vote yes.
Representative Sherman votes yes. Seymour of Sutton. Shaw of Pittsford.
Yes.
Representative Shaw votes yes. Sheldon of Middlebury.
Yes.
Representative Sheldon votes yes. Sibilia of Dover.
Yes.
Representative Sibilia votes yes. Sims of Craftsbury.
Yes.
Representative Sims votes yes. Small of Winooski.
No.
Representative Small votes no. Smith of Derby. Smith of New Haven. Squirrel of Underhill.
Yes.
Representative Squirrel votes yes. Stebbins of Burlington.
Yes.
Representative Stebbins votes yes. Stevens of Waterbury.
Yes.
Representative Stevens votes yes. Strong of Albany.
Yes.
Representative Strong votes yes. Sullivan of Dorset.
Yes.
Representative Sullivan votes yes. Supernaught of Barnard.
Said the Supernaught, and I vote no.
Representative Supernaught votes no. Taylor of Colchester.
Yes.
Representative Taylor votes yes. Taranzini of Rutland Town.
I certify that I am Representative Terenzini of Rutland Town and vote yes.
Representative Taranzini votes yes. Till of Jericho.
Yes.
Representative Till votes yes. Toledo of Brattleboro.
I certify that this is Representative Tristan Tolino of Brattleboro, and I vote yes.
Representative Toledo votes yes. Toof of St. Albans Town.
Yes.
Representative Toof votes yes. Townsend of South Burlington.
Yes.
Representative Townsend votes yes. Troiano of Stannard.
Oh, yes.
Representative Troiano votes yes. Vyhovsky of Essex.
I vote no.
Representative Vyhovsky votes no. Waltz of Berry City.
Yes.
Representative Waltz votes yes. Webb of Shelburne.
Yes.
Thank you. Representative Webb votes yes. White of Bethel.
Yes.
Representative White of Bethel votes yes. White of Hartford.
Yes.
Representative White of Hartford votes yes. Whitman of Bennington.
Yes.
Representative Whitman votes yes. Williams of Granby.
Yes.
Representative Williams votes yes. Wood of Waterbury.
Yes.
Representative Wood votes yes. Jacoboni of Morristown.
Yes.
Representative Jacoboni votes yes. Jan Tochka of Charlotte.
Yes.
Representative Jan Tochka votes yes. Bachelor of Derby. Christie of Hartford. Grad of Moortown. Graham of Williamstown. Howard of Rutland City. Kitzmiller of Montpelier. Martell of Waterford. Martin of Franklin. Norris of Shoreham. Parsons of Newberry. Pearl of Danville. Seymour of Sutton. Smith of Derby. Smith of New Haven.
And when the clerk is ready, will she please announce the results of the vote?
Speaker, thank you for the patience. Those voting yes, 129. Those voting no, 6.
The ayes have it, and you have proposed to amend the bill as recommended by the Committee on Ways and Means in Section 5. Now the question is, shall the bill be amended in the 5th division of amendment with sections 3 through 4, 6 through 8, and 16? Member from Brattleboro, Representative Kornheiser.
We are now, as you said, Madam Speaker, on section 3, which begins on page 990 of your calendar. Your Committee on Ways and Means supports this section of the bill and voted the full bill out on a vote of 8-3-0. The changes in this bill, in this section of the bill, take effect on January 1st of 2022. And it includes the repeal of the throwback rule, which applies to profits that are not taxed in any jurisdiction, a repeal of the 80-20 language, which refers to overseas corporations, a change from the Joyce to the Finnegan methodology, which refers to how corporations are considered a collective whole, and the corporate minimum tax changes that I have, I think a few of us have discussed earlier, and I'm happy to go into in more detail if members have questions.
Again, the question is, shall the bill be amended in the 5th division of amendment covering sections 3 and 4, 6 through 8, and section 16? Are you ready for the question? Member from Jericho, Representative Till.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. These parts of this section that we're now talking about are really important in light of what we've already done so far tonight. Going to the single sales factor, it's important to make some additional changes with how we view the corporations, particularly the Joyce to Finnegan change. And then the other piece of this is the changes in the brackets for the minimum corporation tax. And what we've done there is for the very small businesses in Vermont, we have lowered the minimum corporate tax for those who are up to $100,000 in business. So for the smallest corporations, we have reduced the minimum tax. And for the very biggest, some of these corporations who have $300 million plus in sales in Vermont, we have upped substantially what they need to pay because they really have not been paying a reasonable minimum tax to Vermont. And I think we were told there are 9 companies that fall into that over 300 million in sales, and we're paying no corporate tax except for the minimum.
Member from Brattleboro, Representative Kornheiser.
With due respect to my fellow member, I just, small point of clarification, it's actually 10 or more corporations that are paying that, that would be moved into that are, have revenues, have gross receipts in excess of 300 million at this point and have only been paying a much lower minimum rate, which is an important detail because our tax department releases information to us in buckets of 10 corporations in order to retain confidentiality.
The question is, shall the bill be amended in the 5th division of amendment sections 3 through 4, 6 through 8, and 16? Are you ready for the question? If so, please unmute yourselves for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed, please say nay.
No.
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 Ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have proposed to amend the bill as recommended by the Committee on Ways and Means in sections 3, 4, 6 through 8, and 16. Now the question is, shall the bill be read a 3rd time? Are you ready for that question?
Roll call, Madam Speaker.
The member from Pulteney moves that when the vote is taken, it be taken by roll. Is the member sustained? The member is sustained. When the vote is taken, it will be taken by roll. The question is, shall the bill be read a 3rd time? Are you ready for the question? If so, the clerk shall commence to call the roll. Let the clerk prepare for this last roll call. When the clerk is ready, she can commence to call the roll.
Aki, Middletown Springs.
No.
Aki votes no. Ansel of Callis.
Yes.
Ansel votes yes. Anthony of Berry City.
Yes.
Anthony votes yes. Arison of Weathersfield.
Yes.
Arison votes yes. Austin of Colchester.
Yes.
Austin votes yes. Bartholomew of Heartland.
Yes.
Bartholomew votes yes. Bachelor of Derby. Beck of St. Johnsbury.
Yes.
Beck votes yes. Byrong of Virgins.
Yes.
Byrong votes yes. Black of Essex.
Yes.
Black votes yes. Bloomley of Burlington.
Yes.
Bloomley votes yes. Bach of Chester.
Yes.
Bach votes yes. Bongarts of Manchester.
Yes.
Bongarts votes yes. Boslin of Westminster.
Yes.
Boslin votes yes. Brady of Williston.
Yes.
Brady votes yes. Brennan of Colchester.
No.
Brennan votes no. Briglin of Thetford.
Yes.
Briglin votes yes. Brown of Richmond.
Yes.
Brown votes yes. Brownell of Pownell.
Yes.
Brownell votes yes. Brumstead of Shelburne.
Yes.
Brumstead votes yes. Burdett of West Rutland.
No.
Burdett votes no. Burke of Brattleboro.
Yes.
Burke votes yes. Burrows of West Windsor.
Yes.
Burrows votes yes. Campbell of St. Johnsbury.
Yes.
Campbell votes yes. Canfield of Fairhaven.
No.
Representative Canfield votes no. Chase of Colchester.
I certify this is Representative Chase of Colchester. I vote yes.
Representative Chase votes yes. Christie of Hartford. Sheena of Burlington.
Yes.
Representative Sheena votes yes. Coffee of Guilford.
Yes.
Representative Coffee votes yes. Colburn of Burlington.
Yes, with explanation.
Representative Colburn votes yes. Colston of Winooski.
Yes.
Representative Colston votes yes. Conlon of Cornwall.
Yes.
Representative Conlon votes yes. Copeland Hansis of Bradford.
Yes.
Representative Copeland Hansis votes yes. Corcoran of Bennington.
Yes.
Representative Corcoran votes yes. Cordes of Lincoln.
Yes.
Representative Cordes votes yes. Copley of Rutland City.
No.
Representative Copley votes no. Dickinson of St. Albans Town.
No.
Representative Dickinson votes no. Dolan of Essex.
Yes.
Representative Dolan of Essex votes yes. Dolan of Waitsfield.
Yes.
Representative Dolan of Waitsfield votes yes. Donahue of Northfield.
No.
Representative Donahue votes no. Donnelly of Hyde Park.
Yes.
Representative Donnelly votes yes. Durfee of Shaftesbury.
Yes.
Representative Durfee votes yes. Elder of Starksboro.
Yes.
Representative Elder votes yes. Emmons of Springfield.
Yes.
Representative Emmons votes yes. Fagan of Rutland City.
Yes.
Representative Fagan votes yes. Feltus of Linden.
Yes.
Representative Feltus votes yes. Gannon of Wilmington.
Yes.
Representative Gannon votes yes. Goldman of Rockingham.
Yes.
Representative Goldman votes yes. Ghostland of Northfield.
No.
Representative Ghostland votes no. Grad of Moortown. Graham of Williamstown. Gregoire of Fairfield.
No.
Representative Gregoire votes no. Hango of Berkshire.
No.
Representative Hango votes no. Harrison of Chittenden.
No.
Representative Harrison votes no. Helm of Fairhaven.
No.
Representative Helm votes no. Higley of Lowell.
No.
Representative Higley votes no. Hooper of Montpelier.
Yes.
Representative Hooper of Montpelier votes yes. Hooper of Randolph.
Yes.
Representative Hooper of Randolph votes yes. Hooper of Burlington.
Yes.
Representative Hooper of Burlington votes yes. Houghton of Essex.
Yes.
Representative Houghton votes yes. Howard of Rutland City. James of Manchester.
Yes.
Representative James votes yes. Jerome of Brandon.
Yes.
Representative Jerome votes yes. Jessup of Middlesex.
Yes.
Representative Jessup votes yes. Kalaki of South Burlington.
Yes.
Representative Kalaki votes yes. Kimball Woodstock.
No.
Representative Kimball votes no. Kitzmiller Montpelier. Kornheiser Brattleboro.
Yes.
Representative Kornheiser votes yes. Leclerc of Berrytown.
No.
Representative Leclerc votes no. Lalonde of South Burlington.
Yes.
Representative Lalonde votes yes. Lanford of Regents.
Yes.
Representative Lanford votes yes. Lefebvre of Newark.
Yes.
Representative Lefebvre votes yes. Lefebvre of Orange.
No.
Representative Lefebvre of Orange votes no. Leffler of Enosburg.
No.
Representative Leffler votes no. Lippert of Heinsberg.
Yes.
Representative Lippert votes yes. Long of Newfane.
Yes, and I'd like to explain my vote.
Representative Long votes yes. Marcotte of Coventry.
No.
Representative Marcotte votes no. Martell of Waterford. Martin of Franklin. Maslin of Thetford.
Yes.
Representative Maslin votes yes. Matos of Milton.
No.
Representative Matos votes no. McCarthy of St. Albans City.
Yes.
Representative McCarthy votes yes. McCormick of Burlington.
I certify that this is Representative Kurt McCormick from Burlington, and I vote yes.
Representative McCormick votes yes. McCoy of Pulteney.
No, and I'd like to explain my vote.
Representative McCoy votes no. McCullough of Williston.
Aye.
Representative McCullough votes yes. McFawn of Berrytown.
No.
Representative McFawn votes no. Morgan L. of Milton.
No.
Representative Morgan L. votes no. Morgan M. of Milton.
No.
Representative Morgan M. votes no. Morris of Springfield.
Yes.
Representative Morris votes yes. Morrissey of Bennington.
I certify that I'm Representative Morrissey of Bennington and vote no.
Representative Morrissey votes no. Murwicki of Putney.
Yes.
Representative Murwicki votes yes. Mulvaney Stanek of Burlington.
Yes.
Representative Mulvaney Stanek votes yes. Murphy of Fairfax.
Yes.
Representative Murphy votes yes. Nicole of Ludlow.
Yes.
Representative Nicole votes yes. Nigro of Bennington.
Yes.
Representative Nigro votes yes. Norris of Sheldon.
No.
Representative Norris of Sheldon votes no. Norris of Shoreham. Knott of Rutland City.
Yes.
Representative Knott votes yes. Noyes of Wolcott.
Yes.
Representative Noyes votes yes. O'Brien of Tunbridge.
Yes.
Representative O'Brien votes yes. Odie of Burlington.
Yes.
Representative Odie votes yes. Page of Newport City.
No.
Representative Page votes no. Pyala of Londonderry.
Yes.
Representative Piella votes yes. Pulaski and Milton.
No.
Representative Pulaski votes no. Parsons and Newberry. Partridge of Wyndham.
Yeah.
Representative Partridge votes yes. Pat of Worcester.
Yes.
Representative Pat votes yes. Pearl of Danville. Peterson of Clarendon.
No.
Representative Peterson votes no. Pugh of South Burlington.
Yes.
Representative Pugh votes yes. Rachelson of Burlington.
Yes.
Representative Rachelson votes yes. Redmond of Essex.
Yes.
Representative Redmond votes yes. Rogers of Waterville.
Yes.
Representative Rogers votes yes. Rosenquist of Georgia.
No.
Representative Rosenquist votes no. Sakowitz of Randolph.
Yes.
Representative Sakowitz votes yes. Savage of Swanton.
No.
Representative Savage votes no. Shy of Middlebury.
Yes.
Representative Shy votes yes. Sherman of Stowe.
I certify this as Representative Sherman from Stowe, and I vote no.
Representative Sherman votes no. Seymour of Sutton. Shaw of Pittsford.
No.
Representative Shaw votes no. Sheldon of Middlebury.
Yes.
Representative Sheldon votes yes. Sibilia of Dover.
No.
Representative Sibilia votes no. Sims of Craftsbury.
Yes.
Representative Sims votes yes. Small of Winooski.
Yes.
Smith of New Haven. Squirrel of Underhill.
Yes.
Representative Squirrel votes yes. Stebbins of Burlington.
Yes.
Representative Stebbins votes yes. Stevens of Waterbury.
Yes.
Representative Stevens votes yes. Strong of Albany.
No.
Representative Strong votes no. Sullivan of Dorset.
No.
Representative Sullivan votes no. Supernaught of Barnard.
Yes.
Representative Supernaught votes yes. Taylor of Colchester.
Yes.
Representative Taylor votes yes. Terenzini of Rutland Town.
I certify that I am Representative Terenzini of Rutland Town and vote no.
Representative Terenzini votes no. Till of Jericho.
Yes, with explanation.
Representative Till votes yes. Toledo of Brattleboro.
I certify that this is Representative Tristan Tolino of Brattleboro, and I vote yes.
Representative Toledo votes yes. Toof of St. Albans Town.
No.
Representative Toof votes no. Townsend of South Burlington.
Yes.
Representative Townsend votes yes. Troiano of Stannard.
Oh, yes.
Representative Troiano votes yes. Vihovsky of Essex.
Yes, with explanation.
Representative Vihovsky votes yes. Waltz of Berry City.
Yes.
Representative Waltz votes yes. Webb of Shelburne.
Yes.
Representative Webb votes yes. White of Bethel.
Yes.
Representative White of Bethel votes yes. White of Hartford.
Yes.
Representative White of Hartford votes yes. Whitman of Bennington.
Yes.
Representative Whitman votes yes. Williams of Granby.
No.
Representative Williams votes no. Wood of Waterbury.
Yes.
Representative Wood votes yes. Yakavoni and Morristown.
Yes.
Representative Yakavoni votes yes. Yantochka of Charlotte.
Yes.
Representative Yantochka votes yes. Bachelor of Derby. Christie of Hartford. Grad of Moortown. Graham of Williamstown. Howard of Rutland City. Kitzmiller of Montpelier. Martell of Waterford. Martin of Franklin. Norris of Shoreham. Parsons of Newberry. Pearl of Danville. Seymour of Sutton. Smith of Derby. Smith of New Haven.
For purposes of explanation, member from Burlington, Representative Colburn.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Well, I am very disappointed that this body chose to enact $20 million worth of annual corporate tax cuts through the single sales factor policy. I believe the good in other portions of this bill outweigh the bad.
Member from Newfane, Representative Long.
Madam Speaker, I vote in support of this bill. It accomplishes many things, including a new exemption to the sales tax for menstrual products. It updates the calculation for corporate income tax liability and repeals a sales tax exemption on vendor-hosted pre-written computer software. It also creates an exclusion for on the first $10,000 of federally taxable U.S. military retirement pay. These provisions will have an overall positive impact on Vermonters.
Member from Poultney, Representative McCoy.
Madam Speaker, with a $300 million surplus, $1 billion in CRF funding, and an additional $1 billion in ARPA funds, which should hit our bank account sometime in May, I cannot support tax increases to businesses at this time.
Member from Jericho, Representative Till.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Lest we forget, this bill is entitled An Act Relating to Exempting Feminine Hygiene Products from the Vermont Sales and Use Tax. It's way past due time to remove this unfair gender-specific tax on Vermont's women.
Member from Essex, Representative Vyhovsky.
Thank you. I voted yes because of the good in this bill. There is a long fought for win for equity for those of us who menstruate and for our veterans. However, I continue to find it troubling that in a bill labeled exempting feminine hygiene products from taxation, I'm also forced to accept amendments to our tax structure that will likely benefit the top 100 tax filers most. Thank you.
Member from Hartford, Representative Christie.
May I vote, Madam Speaker?
You may.
Christie of Hartford.
Yes.
Representative Christie votes yes.
Member from Winooski, Representative Small.
Madam Speaker, may I explain my vote?
You may.
Even though this bill strayed far from its original intention, I vote yes today because of its positive impacts within our communities.
And when the clerk is ready, will she please announce the results of the vote?
Those voting yes, 98. Those voting no, 38.
The ayes have it, and third reading is orders. Members, that completes our orders of the day. Are there any announcements? Member from South Burlington, Representative Pugh.
Thank you to the members of House Human Services Committee. I will see you in 11 hours at 8:30 in the morning.
Member from Fairfield, Representative Gregoire.
Madam Speaker, anyone who knows me knows that I'm usually the one promoting unity and the reality that every member wants the best for our state and its citizens, and that sometimes we just have different beliefs on how to get there. It is also my hope that all members consider how their choice of words at times can have the effect of not only impugning the motives of those who with opposing views, but also delegitimizing their views altogether. However, earlier I let emotions get in the way and I engaged in the behavior that I'm normally the one decrying. I unintentionally impugn the motives of other members. Though the frustrations I and many others have are legitimate, is no excuse to not follow proper protocol, and I apologize for this failure. There's a right way and a wrong way to handle these frustrations, and I definitely did not handle this frustration in the right way or in a manner representative of this body. For this, I also apologize. Tomorrow's a new day. Be well and have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you, member. Member from Brattleboro, Representative Kornheiser.
Thank you. If members could bear with me a minute. I spared you a joke during my floor report that I just need to let out because the person who shared it with me, well, I told them I would. And so I don't know if members noticed in section 7 that we were talking about the transition from Joyce to Finnegan method, but I know there are many lovers of Irish literature here. And the James Joyce to Finnegan's Wake transition is just such a fun one. And I wanted to share it with all of you. Thank you.
Member from Montpelier, Representative Hooper.
How do I follow that up? Yeah, we're all punchy. I'm not sure that this will help a lot, but the Appropriations Committee may sleep in an extra half an hour. We will not meet until 8:30.
Member from Middlebury, Representative Shelton.
It's pretty funny. We're going to start early tomorrow in House Natural Resources at 8:30. Thank you.
Member from Calais, Representative Ansel.
Madam Speaker, I hate to say this, but if members have amendments to S53 tomorrow, we would really appreciate seeing them by 9 in the morning.
Member from Worcester, Representative Pat.
I'm sorry, my hand was raised by error.
No problem. Are there any further amendments? See, now I'm doing. Are there any further announcements? Seeing none. Member from Pulteney, can you please offer us a motion to adjourn until Friday, April 16th at 9:30 a.m.?
Madam Speaker, I make a motion this body stand on adjournment until Friday, April 16th, 2021 at 9:30 a.m.
You have heard the motion. Are you ready for the question? If so, please unmute yourselves for the vote.
Here we go.
All those in favor?
Looking
please
at
say
like
aye.
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 All those opposed, please say nay.
No.
Nay.
Ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and we stand in adjournment